Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 375. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what is up?
And also, a whale ginger appears. Connor is here.
I'm here, and I'm here for like a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah, 3 weeks, I think.
Don't threaten the people.
In fact, next week you're getting a no Matt show. You're getting just me and Connor. May heaven help you all.
Yep. Yeah. It's a good job there's no books next week, isn't it?
There's hardly any books next week, yeah.
That's the breaking of the first seal now. Just you two.
It's happened once or twice.
I don't know. I'm used to talking about Smallville when I talk to Connor. Just me and him now.
Yeah.
Well, that's been...
It's not good. Still not good.
I had a very busy week, right, of recording. Things are getting hectic because I'm recording with Tim more for October, because this, Scream's October thumb. We do extra episodes. I've got a consistent 5-show-a-week schedule in the TV show, in the TV channel, plus Gen V just started and the Continental's on, so there's like a lot of things going on right now, recording-wise. So I've been recording non-stop all week. But what makes this week really stressful is the movies that I recorded this week. Subspecies, Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2, Mimic 3, and The Expendables 4. The quality of movie that I have watched this week across the board has been
Here's the real question, though. Which one of those was your favorite?
So, I mean...
It's got to be Expendables 4, because at least he can take in the terrible, terrible action.
I mean, it's either that or Subspecies.
Yeah. I really thought he was going to say Twilight for a hot second.
No,
Just imagine. Gun to your head, you've got to watch one of them again right now. Which one?
Expendables 4 is shorter, so that wins.
Is it that bad, Pete? Because I haven't heard anything either way.
It is more watchable than a Twilight because at least it's a bad version of something that I'm supposed to like.
Yeah.
As opposed to Twilight, but...
What are your thoughts on the third one? Do you like the third one?
Oh no, third one shit. I rewatched them all just before the fourth one, and 1 and 3 are like worse than I remember. 2 is the only one that's kind of okay. The others are...
I wasn't sure if you subscribed to that same one, because
I remember when the first one came out and people were like talking about it like it was a good thing.
It was like cotton candy. It's like, I know I shouldn't be enjoying this, but it's empty calories, and then they kept making them.
No, but at the time, people were genuine like, this is great, this is fun.
I mean, I never said that. Like at the time, it was always kind of mildly disappointing because it wasn't quite the Avengers of all the action stars as you thought it was,
Right.
And then 2 was kind of closer to that idea, but still not perfect by any means.
I mean, it's got Jean-Claude in an all-time.
Van Damme. Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't have Van Damme in the fourth one. You don't even have Arnold. You don't have Bruce Willis, who obviously sadly had to retire from acting. Yeah. So you get Andy Garcia. That's who you get.
The star of the not so good Godfather 3.
That would be it. Yes.
Wow.
You know how I usually say the hit television show? There used to be the hit squad of a film that is Godfather Part 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't heard. Me and my wife were talking about the movies because I was telling her how, I haven't been to the movies by myself in a while because the last time she's been with me the last couple ones. And then I can't remember the last time I went to the theater. It might have been Haunted Mansion, but I can't remember.
Oh well. So I will say Twilight, the last Twilight movie and Expendables 4 do share one thing in common, is they both have some of the worst green screen I have ever seen. It's really quite shocking. Especially...
Which somehow is slightly more forgivable in the Twilight movie, because at least that was over a decade ago.
I know, but even by that time standards, it was horrible. And what really gets me about the Twilight movie is that the green screen happens in scenes where I don't understand why it's green screen. You're just standing in front of the house. Like, why is this a green screen shot?
House isn't real, Pete.
It was real in the other movies.
Well, someone moved in and wouldn't let them rent it.
So I've had just a hell of a week as far as watching movies goes. But yes. How about you, Matt? Don't care about Connor.
Okay, I was just looking to see what the director of Expendables 4 worked on, and it's nothing that I've seen.
Nothing. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah, nothing. So I was just checking. My week's been okay. It's been busy. Hockey season's right around the corner. So, but also so does spooky season. So it's finding the balance of hockey and horror movies.
When this goes out publicly, it'll be October 1st. So like spooky season is technically.
So I'm all caught up on Chucky up till the TV show. So I'm gonna start that.
Oh yeah, you've been working through those.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
I think. I really enjoy Seed of Chucky. I know it's not a good movie.
That's the worst one. What are you talking about?
No, it's not the worst one. Three is easily the worst one.
3's the second worst. Like I'll agree, 3's like on the lower end, but no, 2's best. And then honestly, I think next is Cult of Chucky. I think Cult of Chucky's a blast.
Cult's really good, but left me so confused at what's going on, and I'm sure that's the point because of the show. Because there's it leads a lot of threads.
There's a lot of threads,
in the air.
yeah.
And so I left it being so confused. Has some really brutal deaths, which after Curse of Chucky, seemed kind of like made for TV-ish.
Joe, I love about Curse, right? Because Curse is the one that brought it back after Seed. Is that for the first half of the movie, you think it's kind of a reboot, and because it's got a different tone and all this stuff. But then by the end, you realize, no, everything's in continuity. This is this franchise is stuck to its continuity more than any other horror franchise, and I respect it for it.
I will say, like when it comes to the franchises and the main characters, I have Jason and Michael Myers are near and dear to my heart, and then the next kind of space people usually will put in like Freddy Krueger. Well, I'm not a huge fan of Freddy. I do think Chucky is making a push because Brad Dourif.
He's funny. He's good.
Yeah, he is legitimately funny with some of his takes. Because I know it's mostly voice acting at this point for him.
Actually, you've already seen his daughter do an impression of him. Yeah. Because that's in Cult a little bit. She's very good at that.
Right. So yeah, he's just his delivery on a lot of the stuff. It shouldn't be as funny as it is, and he nails it. But yeah, Child's Play is mostly a good franchise. Like 3, I really did not like, and Seed again. I know I'm not supposed to like it. However, it is just campy enough that I enjoyed it. I'd rather if something's gonna be bad, at least let me enjoy it. Right? Don't be bad and miserable.
That's fair. Yes. That's fair.
So.
All right, fine, Connor. What you got going on?
No, slow week.
See, this is why I don't ask. This is why I don't ask.
And then I was ill, so it was miserable, and I've just been. It's. I don't want to talk about all the way back since the last time I've been on the show. We'll be here all night.
I'm just proud of the reaction I got out of Matt.
I wasn't ready for him to just like Connor got 2 words out, not even, and I thought it was safe to take a drink, and I almost ended up with watermelon C4 all over my laptop. So good thing I had some restraint. But oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, welcome.
You guys are one of the great odd couples. I gotta give you it. Connor exists, and Pete is upset about it.
That's why I exist.
Yes.
Connor exists, and then post that the Michael Jordan meme, and I took that personally.
I took that personally. Also, FTK.
Yeah, F them kids. So. Yes, welcome to the show, everyone. This is the DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the DC books we read this week. And it's a fairly busy week. We have, coming up on today's show, we got Action Comics 1057, Detective Comics 1074, we have The Flash issue 1, we got Green Arrow issue 4, The Penguin issue 2, Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 6, Batman Brave and the Bold issue 5, well, the main story in it anyway. We have Power Girl issue 1, which at least Matt read. I don't know if Connor also read that.
I read some of it.
Oh, well, that gives you a sneak peek.
Well, we'll talk about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then, at least Matt, maybe also Connor read Spirit World issue 5.
I did.
There you go.
I chose to read that instead of catching up on the Brave and the Bold.
Interesting choice. Interesting choice. Okay, so that's what's coming up on the show this week, so be aware. But Connor, I bet you've been missing something. You've had this feeling in the back of your brain that there's this nagging feeling that something's been missing from your life these past 5-6 weeks, however long it's been.
Can't possibly imagine what that would be.
Yeah.
Is it in-depth discussion about Detective Comics? Because I have missed that.
No, it's just a little bit at the back of
if you want.
it's a little bit at the back of your brain. That's the scientists call it the CM10. It goes right at the back of the brain. It's this little part of the brain that lights up when you start talking about the ComiXology top 10. Everyone.
When he said CM10, I thought he discovered a new neck bone because those are the C. And that's the cervical vertebrae. Short term. Like my dad, when he broke his neck in '88, broke C4 and 5.
Yeah, I'm wondering why you chose C and M for ComiXology. Like
CX.
I don't know. I was thinking on my feet. All right, it was the first letters that came to mind.
But for like 0.5 seconds, I thought, wait, what's wrong with Connor's neck?
Many
I didn't realize what he
things.
was doing.
Connor's head's attached to it. That's what's wrong with it.
That's a problem.
All right, yeah. ComiXology top 10. We'll look at Tuesday, the DC day, and then Wednesday separately because that's how they're split up. So, any guesses as to what number 1 from DC Comics is this week?
Connor, you've been absent. Why don't you give it a shot?
Well, there's a number 1, so it's probably Flash.
It is Flash number 1. Look at that.
That was gonna be my guess. Smart guess.
Yeah. Number 2, and I'm surprised by this, is Power Girl issue 1.
Hey, let's go, Leah Williams.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by that. It did a lot of other books. Number 3 is the Batman, Catwoman, Gotham War, Red Hood special thingamajig.
That is a mouthful.
Yep. So number 4 is Action Comics. Number 5 is Batman, Brave and the Bold. But it's an $8 book, so that's still pretty solid for that.
Yep.
Number 6 is Green Arrow. Number 7 is Tales of the Titans, issue 3. Number 8 is Detective Comics. Detective Comics definitely feeling a bit lower these days. Penguins at number 9, and then number 10 is Batman Beyond Neo Gothic. So, yeah.
I think, obviously, tech's a bit lower. I think DC probably won't be that worried because there's no immediate danger of Ram V not finishing his story because there's not actually that much left anyway, I don't think. Like he'd always kind of said, oh, it's a pretty finite story. You know, it's the 3 acts. And we're in Act 2 right now. Plus it's double shipping over the next couple of months.
Yep.
So we'll probably be through Ram V stuff fairly early next year.
Yeah. I even wonder if part of the reason why it's double shipping is because it's selling lower, so they figure, well, we'll sell it twice a month and get through Ram V's run a bit quicker before we move on to whoever.
Which is a shame, because I feel like this is a Batman run people are going to be talking about later.
I think it's doing really well critically, and it'll probably have quite a lot of legs in the book market. I can see this being a great omnibus when it's all said and done. But clearly in the singles, people are less interested.
Hey, sometimes some things don't do well commercially when they first come out, and then their life kind of exists after that. That's just the way sometimes it is. So
Yeah.
That's that. Doom Patrol just missed the top 10. And then after that, you got Wildcat, Superboy, then Static, then Spirit World at 15. So yeah, a lot of books out this week because usually, because some weeks DC like barely fill the top 10, and there'll be like a trade at the end of the top 10. This week actually there's like 15 plus books. With in fact 16 because Harley Quinn's at 16. So congratulations to that. So that is DC stuff. Oh, there was a new edition of Batgirl Year 1 out this week apparently. It's on the.
It's a good book.
It's a very good book. I really like Batgirl Year 1. So yeah, and if we look at Wednesday, do we have any guesses as to what number 1 is?
I need to.
Yeah, nothing obvious is jumping out at me. What X-Men books were new? Jean Grey.
Nope.
No. Yeah, that's number 2. Let me see.
Realm of X.
Nope. Not Realm of X.
Oh, man.
This is work for Matt like every week since you've been away, and now you're back.
I know he's taking my answers, but he's making himself look dumb, so it's helping me out even more.
What was your guess, Matt?
I'm gonna guess the Venomverse thing.
I don't even see that.
The fact that it's taking that long for him to find.
No, I know what it is.
Definitely not.
God damn it! It's Ultimate Invasion 4.
Yeah, Venomverse is down at like 21, maybe.
Let's see. On League of Comic Geeks, it's on the 3rd row, so that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah,
number 1 is Ultimate Invasion. Yeah, issue 4.
I'm actually surprised at that. All I see on my Twitter is people complaining about how expensive it is for a single issue. And not just, the first issue, it's every issue.
Oh yeah, it's $9 for issue 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, as beefy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Does it at least have the page count?
It's like 50 pages,
Okay.
but every issue is $9.
Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah.
Oof.
Also, that must mean there's a lot of artists juggling that thing, because there's no way one artist is doing a 50-page book every month.
This one has Hitch listed. Hitch listed as last. I've been Hitch for all 5 issues so far.
It's very much the cover, at least, is very much Hitch.
Yeah, no, it's been Hitch for every issue. He, as a notoriously
pages.
slow artist, he must have had a hell of a lead.
He must have done, because Jesus Christ. Number 2 is Jean Grey, issue 2. Number 3
there it is, Connor.
Invincible Iron Man. Number 4 is Immortal Thor. Number 5 is Realm of X. Number 6 is Avengers. Number 7 is Miss Marvel, the New Mutant. So sort of went through with that record, I see. Very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 8 is Void Rivals, which is a Robert Kirkman Image book.
I've really been enjoying that book, actually.
Is it Image? Maybe it's not Image. I just assumed it was Image.
It is. It's Image. It's Skybound / Image.
Okay. Number 9 is Avengers Annual, and then number 10 is X-Men Days of Future Past. So, there you go. So just one non-Marvel book. It is worth mentioning that right after the top 10, there's a Power Rangers book. There's a Conan book not too far down. Sonic's number 15. So there is some non-Marvel stuff.
Monstrous has finally started to slip down. That usually, for a long time, that was a really solid seller.
Yeah, that's
I guess now it's in that. It's like 48 now, this issue. So it must just be, there's a drop off with its singles.
Yeah, number 20 on this Comicsology ranking.
That's still not like terrible, presumably.
No, but there's a lot of stuff out in the Wednesday, Yeah. There's stuff underneath it as well. So, yeah, no, it's a busy week for comics. I think if you're someone who's following a lot of Marvel as well as DC, and I'm assuming you're following DC because you're listening to this show, then, yeah, you probably had a lot of books this week. But, hey, so there you go, that's ComiXology Top 10. We can be done with that and move over to, well, comics, I guess, because there's no news. I looked for news.
Yeah.
There was no news to find. Other than Dan Didio doing weird podcasts with, like, dodgy people, there's nothing remotely to talk about.
Did you check the dodgy site as well? That just in case they had anything.
Dodgy in a different way from the podcast Dan Didio was on, but yeah, no, I did not check it. No,
we assume.
Well, we assume. I'm going to give the benefit of doubt on some of the things that were referring to there.
JSA 9 has been delayed. No one cares about
that. I mean,
okay,
it'll come when it comes.
It slipped from the 21st of November to the 21st of January.
That's actually quite a hefty delay. That's
basically every issue from 7, 8, and 9 have all been delayed pretty heavily. JSA 7 was originally scheduled for 18th of July. It's now currently scheduled for the 7th of November.
Yeah, it's been a heavily delayed book. I mean, that's definitely been the thing that's been going on. I've noticed it whilst reading it. Matt, you look frozen as if you're shocked.
No, but I was like, what did we just read? Was it 6?
Yeah, it was 6 we just read.
Okay. That's what I was trying to figure out. Which was the last issue we read?
Yeah, because issue 6 was one of those oasis in the desert moments of Night Terrors, where a regular book came out. And
That's right.
You save us, Johns, with your actual regular comic book, please. Well, I say regular, semi-regular.
Yeah.
So
off delayed.
Yes.
Wouldn't be a John's book otherwise, would it? Let's be honest at this point.
Yes, but it wasn't a Night Terrors book, and that counted for a lot.
Yeah.
Counted for a lot.
Just for the record, I missed all the back half of Night Terrors. I'm never going to finish it. I'm not going back.
All you have to know is it's not good.
All I know is by the end, it somehow started setting up the Tom Taylor event.
Yeah, there's a little tease at the very end that reveals. I guess we'll just say So there's a Dr. Hate that's going to be a part of this Beast World thing, and he's working with Amanda Waller. That's all you need to know.
Cool. I can definitely not read the rest.
And that there's a betrayal within the Titans, and that's who might be under the Dr. Hate. helmet.
Well, yeah, we don't know who it is. It's like there's a mystery
Yeah.
of like, oh, someone's switched sides or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, we don't know if that person is under Dr. Hate, but we do know that there is a whoever flipped on the Titans, so it's someone within. But yeah, that's all.
Probably Roy.
Yeah.
Eh?
Like, imagine if they do Roy dirty like that. After them just got him back.
I'm just saying, Roy makes the most sense to me for various reasons.
Is it because you don't like Roy?
I think that's a strong statement. I would say maybe indifference is more of a. He's not Jason Todd. Come on, I'm not going to do him dirty like that.
He's not. He's just Jason Todd's best friend.
Yes, you're judged by the company you keep, I suppose, is the way to put it.
I've never met Connor then. I joke. I've missed Connor. He's a good sport.
Yes.
Pete doesn't agree.
I know that was simply a reflex. Nothing more. Nothing more.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at covers right now. Before
You ready for me to complain about every book somehow?
I've got a feeling you're going to.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not going to complain about every book. I mean, I might be able to find a nitpick on every book if I tried.
Probably. Last week was very good, man. I felt like we had a really good slate of books last week.
We did, despite being speeding through because I had a hard out. But I do think we had a pretty good week. Maybe didn't give you, but there was one book this week that I actively disliked. So.
I'm really intrigued if it's a book I think it could be.
I think you're hoping it's a book that you're hoping it is, Connor.
Well, no, maybe, but there's a couple that I think it could be. But
yeah, we'll see. There's another obvious choice, but I don't think Matt would even tease that one because we already know we all shit on it.
Yeah, so, that's my like. There's a couple there that I'm like, yeah, but is that really a surprise?
Oh yes, very very curious. Anywho,
it's really gonna surprise. It's not what you think it is.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, before we get started with the books, I'll just let everyone know if you want to hear more of me and Connor rabbiting on about something stupid. We are reviewing Smallville on a weekly basis. We're reposting old reviews of season 1 just now publicly, but if you're on Patreon, over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you'll hear me and Connor. We're about halfway through season 2. And since we started doing dedicated just reviews of Smallville season 2, they've been much longer, much more in-depth, and frankly, a lot more sillier. So,
yeah, it's just not a very good show, and we kind of really lean into that.
Yes. Although, was that one really boring episode that wasn't even funny bad? It was just...
Yeah, that was the worst episode we've had since we got back. Not even objectively worse, just the worst for us.
Yeah, so... Hey, anyway, that's a bit of promotion there before we start. But anyway, yes, let's start off with the comic, shall we? Detective Comics 1074, Ram V writing with Dustin Nguyen on the art. So Nguyen joining the book. I actually didn't recognize his art at first because I'm so used to him having just like more unique coloring, I guess.
Yeah.
Because normally I think of Dustin Nguyen and I think of like watercolors, or I think of something like that. So this was a lot more typical
kind of
coloring.
like Manipul that way, right? You have a vision in your head of what it looks like, and then when one thing changes, it kind of changes the rest of the art. I thought it fit in really well with a lot of the etherealness, because Nguyen has those kind of softer edges on things, so it kind of added the etherealness of whatever Bruce is going through here.
Oh yeah.
I think you can really see it on the faces. I think all of just the people's faces. That looks really classic Nguyen to me.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. This main cop we're kind of following this issue. He as soon as we get that page where he's like on the phone, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see the Dustin Nguyen like in his face. But it doesn't. It didn't strike me as one instantly, because art usually does, because it does have just sort of not bad coloring, but I mean it's just more normal coloring versus what it usually has. So the premise of this issue is that after the explosion at the tower, which ended the last arc, I think, before Night Terrors kicked off, Batman's seemingly going around the city, and he's kind of out of it. We kind of come at this issue from the perspective of other people. You know, it's this detective who's on the case, trying to track him down, and we get stories from different people. The first one here at the start of the issue is this, basically like, I don't know, meth chemist or whatever he is.
Yeah. He would have worked against Walter White on Breaking Bad.
Yes, absolutely.
You know.
So he is telling the cops like what happened and why there's a fire on the roof, and he's blaming Batman for it. It's actually a really fun couple of pages because this guy is trying to present it as if he's this good stand-up citizen, but when we're seeing the panels and the art, it contradicts everything he's saying because they're cooking drugs and then they pull out their guns and this sort of stuff. That made that first couple of pages quite entertaining. But yeah, Batman doesn't look quite right. When you see him, he looks like he's a little bit monstrous and there's something going on. And he's going around the city.
Green eyes.
Yeah, and he's going around the city. He's going to different like prominent locations. Like he goes to like this, was it Martin's? This like candy shop that's next to the pier, and then we get a flashback of when he was a kid with his dad, and they were at that pier. And then eventually it's the Flying Grayson's, you know, circus, the fairgrounds, and then ultimately Crime Alley later on. And it's like he's going to all these locations that are connected to his past. And it's not until the end of the issue where we really get a sense of, okay, what is the internal struggle that's happening here? He's basically fighting for control against the demon inside him, you know, the monster. And then there's another kind of monstrous figure also talking to him in his ear as well. So there's a lot going on here to sort of dissect, like the exact meaning of all this.
You've got the demon wolf thing, kind of like going after his fears internally, and then you've got the big vampire bat dude in a robe that's kind of on his side.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be Barbatos, right?
I assume so.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no. You got those great big pages where it's like the wolves like devouring. Well, I guess it's like his dad the first time you see it, where it's just this big wolf head. So it's when he's walking away from the memory, and it's like the wolves coming for his dad.
Yep.
And you got
one going after. I think it eats dick, right? During at the Flying Grayson's bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Phrasing. Phrasing.
Technically correct, but yes.
Because this is what's the name of these things again, right? That they put in him.
Asthma.
The asthma.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the asthma trying to get hold of it. It almost seems like Bruce going through his past is what is keeping it at bay, right? It's like he's forcing himself to go through these traumas again as a way to keep it at bay because that's what birthed Batman.
And there's a lot of like sort of symbolism in this issue. You can't read everything you see as literal. It's very obviously there's times when you're with the police officers or whatever where okay, this is just a normal scene. But anytime you see Batman, like there's a great like it's the page after the first time you see the big wolf where he's almost like just a bat on fire with the cowl and it's like all red behind him. Like obviously it's very symbolic of like what's going on inside rather than what he actually looks like.
He's very Wraith-like.
Yeah, and he beats up all the
great as well
clowns in Joker Town. Do you know what? I love that Croc's like just happily talking to the police, and I knew it was Croc as well just from the color of the box. There's something about it being a green box, but just a dark green that I went, oh, I think this is Croc. I just got it instantly.
Yeah.
So
I'd say that's really strong editorial over years, right? To establish that hey, this is what Croc's lettering looks like. It's just this is what you use because that's what this character is, and obviously there's some flexibility on some characters, but when it's someone like Croc who's not there that often, it's just enough that hey, this tells you who it is every time.
I think it's a mix of the color and the tone, because if this was a slightly lighter green and the phrasing was slightly different, I would have probably assumed like Poison Ivy instead, without seeing who it was. But the way the dialogue is written plus the tone of green, it's like, oh no, this feels more like Croc, and then sure enough, it turns out to be Croc the next page. So what's the lady with the eyes called? All the eyes that works for the Arsons?
That's the problem with Night Terrors, right?
Yeah,
there's all these new characters.
Months.
I don't even remember the wolf's name. I just know there's the wolf guy, the eye lady.
Yeah.
And then Orgum, of course, because he's the main guy.
Yeah, so she's leading a little team looking for Batman as well, as are the police. The officer we were following here, apparently he was saved by Batman during a Scarecrow attack, and it has a note saying all the way back in Batman Secret Files 1. I'll believe you, and I believe this happened, but that was ages ago, so I don't remember this.
That's what I was trying to look up earlier when you guys were talking about the art and whatnot. I don't remember. I know I read this because I pulled up the cover.
Yeah.
I know we read it. I don't remember the stories that were in it, though.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was mentioning the coloring earlier. I will say the coloring on the flashbacks is a little closer to what I expect from Dustin 1. So it's a little paler. It's a little more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at the page with young Dick, because now it's Bruce and Dick in the flashback before he turns out a Nightwing, and falls and is eaten by the wolf. That's actually a great page. Like he's doing the trapeze and he falls off and into the wolf's mouth. I was actually wondering here if it was meant to be a giant bat, because you don't really see behind it, and I don't know. I agree that it looks more wolf-like, but the way its like front legs looked in this page as it's eating Dick, I was going, wait, is this maybe like some sort of like really deformed bat who's like more monstrous, so it looks more like a wolf's head? But it is a wolf.
I guess you could take it that way.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at the one when it eats Thomas, right? It's very wolf-like.
It is, no.
Versus,
I agree.
The
nose is definitely wolf-like. It was just the way it looked on this page made me go, wait, is this going to turn out to be like a huge bat that we're just not seeing a lot of yet?
Yeah,
I get it. I can see it with the arms and even the ears.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do actually end up back in Crime Alley, and obviously all of us are with bated breath going, don't you dare show the perils. Don't you dare show them. Yeah. Now, what I like here is that he does see kind of like the shadows of him and his parents, but I love that it's mostly in the reflection of the water, so it's like a really subtle thing to be like, oh, he's thinking about it, but we're not going to, do the whole song and dance of actually showing the perils falling and all that. It's just enough, and that does the thing.
If we'd had to see the pearls again after Night Terrors.
I know. Oh, dear. So Barbato's kind of basically says he's too clever for his own good. Because Bruce is basically trying to fight his way out of this. He's trying to reason with himself and fight off this sort of invasion, if you will. And Barbato says, I can't really stop it, but maybe I can hold it off a little bit whilst you maybe save Gotham after all. So we kind of build up to this. Montoya's looking at the map, seeing all these locations that Batman has been.
So these locations are important to Bruce. He's anchoring himself in the city.
And which is interesting, because obviously the city being like a character almost has definitely been like a theme throughout this entire run. So this is like him using the city to save himself. And it's notably the detective does kind of connect that two of them are related to Bruce Wayne by the end here. That's kind of the cliffhanger we leave on, is that he connects Crime Alley to the fairground, because Bruce bought that some time ago. So maybe we're leading up to this guy figuring out who Batman is. Because he's starting to put some pieces together.
That would definitely make for a hell of an Act 3.
Yeah.
Well, there's that, or it's gonna tie Wayne and the Orgums together somehow, right? Because of the history of the cities,
Yeah, I'm thinking less of a plot thing though, or more just like a thematic wrap up to the stuff we're doing there. Like, or what if the point of this character is that he's someone else good that the city's basically created because of all the things that have happened to him? So he's going to be like a new kind of ally of sorts, because hey, the city gives birth to things like this, like Batman, like him, like whoever. So I don't know. It's just interesting. It was an enjoyable issue. It was a nice change of pace, because it was very like a new direction. It's like, okay, after this explosion, Batman sort of lost it. He's been infected. He's going through the city. I like the fact that we're seeing everything from other people's perspectives for about 2/3 of the issue before we finally sort of see him kind of dealing with it. It's very interesting. So,
yeah. So he at the end there, he talks about he's asking the other cop. He goes, "You ever watch the old '60s film called The Swimmer?" And he goes, "Never mind, it's a long shot." So I just pulled that up, and apparently that was a 1968 surrealist drama starring Burt Lancaster. And when you look at the poster, the tagline is, "When you talk about The Swimmer, well, you talk about yourself." So what's MV trying to tell us here?
Unfortunately, I've not seen The Swimmer, so I can't offer.
Yeah.
Tons of insight.
he throws it in there, and I don't think we'll have to watch it, but him pulling that up, and then it seems to me, you know, with all the surrealism and whatever this officer, I think it's Officer Fielding, is that his name?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever Fielding's putting together, it's along those lines of, you know, someone losing their mind and going through. So I think that's pretty interesting. But yeah, real nice. It felt like a warm hug back from Ramsey. Not that the Night Terrors Detective Comics stuff was.
I mean, it was
bad.
the best one. Like Detective Comics, Night Terrors was the best tie-in, like easily.
Yeah. So you get back to the Orgums and the Asmer and Bruce and all of this stuff.
The Night Terrors tie-in for this, Connor, was Dan Waters doing effectively Hellraiser in Gotham.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might want to check that out.
There wasn't really one. It was basically just a story about Gordon investigating something, and some rich people had used a device to summon. What would they call it? It wasn't Cenobites, obviously. It was
they were fifth dimensional something.
Yeah,
they're like terrors.
Fifth dimensional demons, but it was basically Cenobites in terms of what it felt like.
And it's Federici on the art too.
That's right. That was right. The art was really good too.
So, yeah.
No, I just checked. I don't think I read either of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also might want to check out the Dan Waters Doomsday, because it's Doomsday in Hell.
Oh yeah, I meant to. That was the one shot, like action one shot. Yeah, I meant to check it out.
Supergirl and Martian Manhunter in Hell fighting. Yeah,
I had a lot to catch up on it. It didn't seem essential for this issue of Action Comics. I thought I'll get back to it later.
Yeah,
no, they're definitely throwing threads in there. But knowing how much you like Dan Waters, you're gonna want to go back to that one. And same with the tech stuff. You can almost read the tech ones outside of Night Terrors, because there's only
you
know, a little remembering about insomnia, but other than that,
it's barely connects. It just it happens to be a nightmare, but that's about it. So there's a backup here though. We have Dan Waters, speak of the demon himself, with Hayden Sherman on art for a story about the 10-eyed man. And this was interesting to me because this was 10-eyed man. He's basically saying he's noticed something's wrong because the place that hands out free pizza on like Friday night or whatever it is shut, and he ends up accidentally killing the owner of this place because he touches his head with his finger to sort of see what he knows or what's happened to him, and he accidentally pokes his head and leaves him for dead.
In too much. 10-eyed man is so creepy.
He's very creepy.
I do not like him.
But what this basically ends up doing...
Sorry, Pete of Pete's Pizza.
Yes, Pete of Pete's Pizza, that was it. So is it just me, or is like, and this might tie into the main story and what's going on here with what the Asmers are trying to do, but it kind of felt like people are starting to forget that Batman exists. Like, that was kind of the vibe.
Yeah, he's talking about how there's a hole in Gotham, right?
Yeah, like something's missing. Maybe it's more symbolic than literally they're forgetting, but like...
Well, don't forget, it is like a reality engine that the organs are activating, right? And it plays with reality, but because of Barbados's influence, this is how I've been reading it, right? And all the stuff that Bruce went through, Gotham always has a protector, whether it's, you know, Bruce or someone always foils the organs, right? And here, this might be one step closer to them being successful. And if the 10-eyed man's noticing it, because, right, he notices all the breaks in reality because he's outside of reality kind of in and of himself, right? He experiences his own.
Yeah, but even he forgets because there's that page where the bat signal disappears, and it's not like it's just turned off. Like the circle of where it would be is still there, but it's just empty. It's like the symbol's been erased from his mind. So even he's starting to forget things. But he's noticing these differences and stuff. And then the fun bit at the end is that he escapes from jail after they arrest him by slipping through the hole that he makes.
In reality.
Yeah, the hole in reality that he makes with Renee Montoya's mind. Which is a very big concept to try and wrestle with, but he's happy he got his pizza.
It's no, but even there's a bit where it shows Batman like fighting some thugs, and he's like blanked out as well in the same style as the bat signal. It's just that white outline.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It certainly, I think it does tie into the main story and the idea that they are trying to remove Batman from Gotham, but not just like kill him, but actually erase his existence.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole thing that we go to as Batman as an idea, right? And so they can get rid of the idea of Batman, right? What fills in that void? And it seems to be nothing, right? It creates a hole. So
Well, I never even thought of it this way, but literally the signal without the symbol does look like just a hole in the sky. It's almost visually just representing that. That is kind of neat, actually.
And the art for this backup is great. The colors especially really just make this work.
There's a lot
It's not the same...
Sorry? I was going to say, there's a lot of layouts here where it uses Ten-Eyed Man's hands as like the framing device to split up the panels.
I almost want to print all these pages out and like arrange them. I feel like they'd just flow really nicely together with all the way the hands come out of the edges of the page.
Yeah, I'm looking through. It's not, the first page isn't like that, but every page after, pretty much probably up until the jail cell
until he's in the cage,
are all framed using his hands to like make the layouts. So
is this the same artist that did the Arkham book?
I think so.
I don't think so.
It feels very similar. So the hard lines and just the odd angles.
Wait, what Arkham book are you talking about? Because like the story with Ten-Eyed Man before was definitely more abstract in its art.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was the Dan Waters.
No,
book.
was that not Danny?
Okay,
that sounds right. Yeah,
it was Danny. I've just found it.
This is good art, but it's way more normal looking, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. It seemed very familiar, and I think maybe that's what
stylistically, it's still taking its cues from that. Like it definitely feels like it's supposed to be spiritually just straight on from that book.
Right. Okay. I couldn't remember off the top, but yeah. But the layouts I really like, making like all the action happening in between the fingers on that one page, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, what we rating Detective Comics then, Connor?
I'll give it an 8.5. It's a great issue.
Matt?
Hey, 8.5 for me too.
Okay, fine, 8.5. I guess I'll just agree with the team. All right.
Pressure.
Very good. Action Comics 1057. Philip Kennedy Johnson writing with Rafa Sandoval on the art. So, this starts off with a kind of a sweet little bit. It's Superman just having lunch with like construction workers. That classic shot of the skyscrapers with the builders out in the beams having their lunch.
Here's my thing. Let's take a break from comics and be like, how does one walk out onto the beam and just sit like that and have lunch? Like, I know the famous picture, right? But I always imagine that they were already sitting and they picked it up to get the picture, right? But here, it seems like this dude just walked out there. Maybe when you're friends with Superman, you know that if you fall, he'll catch you.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're there, like if you're up there all day anyway, you just get used to it.
Maybe, I don't know, man.
I just feel like, one strong bit of wind when you're up that high, I feel like.
Yeah. It makes me nervous thinking about it, and it's not real. You know?
Like the amount of times I stumble in the street and don't actually fall down, but almost do. The thought of that happening.
It's a bit embarrassing for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really embarrassed about it, but okay. Nice try, Connor. But
you should be.
But when you're up there that high, like that stumble could be just instant death.
That's it. Yeah.
It's a whole thing. But yeah, so he's sitting at lunch and he's like, "Hey, you don't have to keep checking up on me. I'm staying out of trouble. I'm being, because he's also asking advice about his kid because he's struggling because his kid's in trouble for stealing some money." And Superman encourages him and says, "No, because of your history, you're the perfect dad for this situation. You've actually got experience with the consequences. You can talk to him about this. And I'm not checking up on you. I'm just having lunch with a friend. I'm not, making sure you're keeping out of trouble."
Yeah, Philip Kennedy Johnson's really good at this, aspect of Superman being everybody's best friend. Just with his whole presence and the way that he talks. And there's no condescension ever from Clark. Even when we get later to the main plot, and it's just he's really good at Clark's voice.
Yeah, this is a very strong conceptual issue because this is just a little intro. Lois sort of yells for him, and she's very upset and angry. Not in a proper angry, but in a stressed at my job, get here now kind of thing. And it turns out because they've got an opportunity. When he comes in, he finds out that the leader of the Blue Earthers has offered to come in and do an interview, and they're debating whether or not they should. But Lois's ultimate argument is that, well, if we say no because we don't want to give them a platform, then some other paper or TV channel will do it and they'll just softball them. At least if we do it, we can try and keep some journalistic integrity and ask the hard questions. But they specifically said they want this interview to be with Clark Kent, which immediately is, raises an eyebrow. Yeah. Like, okay, what do they know?
Yeah.
So
they don't seem to question that. Like Lois and Clark don't seem to. They question
don't.
No.
But certainly as the interview goes on, and this young, basically teenage girl comes in for the interview, and the fact that there's what looks like some kryptonite on her bracelet was making me think, okay, that Clark is Superman somehow. There's knowledge here. But most of this issue is this interview, and my favorite thing about it is this running thing as the interview is going on, where Clark in his narration, he doesn't say anything else in his narration for this entire scene pretty much, except just the word lie whenever she lies, which is basically everything she says.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys,
because he's checking her vitals, doing the human lie detector, Kryptonian lie detector.
Yeah,
thing.
You've got the thing in the art where there's like these strips going across her face and like chest, and you can see like the X-ray vision in these strips, so you can see her heart beating, and you can see like her skull and the pulse. Yeah,
it's great.
It's really good stuff. The art here is really solid. Like Sandoval has always been a solid kind of house style kind of guy. But I think this is
branching out a little here.
Yeah.
Like this, is really heavy. I don't know if it's just whoever's doing the inks. Maybe it's Sandoval doing those as well. I haven't checked. It is, yeah. It's really heavy inks compared to what I usually associate with him, which makes it feel considerably, darker and a little bit different than his stuff used to, with less house style.
I think fits the tone because we're dealing with this hate group, and like we're trying to basically have a serious debate. And this girl has all the right answers. She lies about not knowing the people who tried to bomb the steelworks building, and not knowing who's been looting and rioting and all these things.
The art's almost a little Perkins-esque.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it looks. I can tell it's different, but yeah, I can see what you're saying.
It's leaning more towards that than his usual house style.
Yeah, and that might just be because of the heavy inks too, adding those shadows that we like that Perkins plays with.
Yeah.
So
basically, she's trying to spin this idea that aliens are a threat, and even tries to spin when Clark sort of asks about some innocent aliens have been murdered. She tries to spin that. Does it count as murder if it's not a human? And I'm like, well, ma'am, you can murder an animal, so yes, it does count as murder.
So she's like murder.
Presumably her argument is legally, right? Is it murder? Because murder is one human killing another, right? It's presumably.
So her argument is the charge should read animal cruelty. Is that what you're saying?
Well, basically, yeah, because what they're saying, what she's saying is she's dehumanizing these people, and this is what happens when one group creates a concept of the other, and that they're not the same as you. We're going to take everything that's away. So, she says here, murder of world refugees, murder is something human beings do to one another, right? And let's say an intelligent alien life form crashes in my home, something monstrous with no vital signs we know how to measure. If I destroy it, is that murder? And Clark is like, yeah, no, it is.
Yes, 100%.
It's just this whole thing that propaganda, right? She's just spewing all this stuff, and she knows it's not true, and Clark knows it's not true. But the people that are going to be listening to this, right? She's making an argument, and some dumb person might be like, oh yeah, no, I can kill aliens because they're not people. It doesn't count.
It's dehumanizing what they're seeing as the enemy, and making people okay with, even if they don't get involved themselves, making them okay with not raising a fuss. And like,
they're desensitizing people to this too, right? Because they're, Superman stands for compassion towards others, right? That's what all of Warworld was. And now if you break that down, and you don't have to have compassion for these world refugees because they are the quote unquote other, her job's already done.
Yeah.
In the minds of certain people.
She even brings up Superman at one point, and obviously it's interesting. I think the art does a good job of like playing with Clark's reaction to those statements.
Yeah.
Because
he looks nonplussed. Like
he just the entire time he plays it just like dead stare ahead. Just keep it cool, keep it professional. In the other
I
room,
mean,
you've got Lois being like, "This was a mistake. What the hell?"
Yeah. Well, I think that's what makes that look is that we can project our emotions onto Clark here, right? Because when it cuts back to Lois talking about it's made a mistake, like I'm looking at him, it's not just a dead stare. It's he's disapproving, you know. Yeah. But that's just because I'm projecting, you know, what I think Superman feels into this. Right, so I think that's really, really good work on both Philip Kennedy Johnson and Sandoval.
But it also adds to that idea of like I think she knows who he is because I think she's prodding him intentionally with those questions or those statements, I should say.
Even when she comes like, you always seem to know when people are lying, like, you're really good at reading people. There's just these little bits that are like, yeah.
So this is most of the issue, and honestly, I think it's quite right that it takes up a whole issue. I think this feels like a big deal that we meet this character who's behind this group, and we treat it with this severity. There is a bit of action at the end with our assistant. Basically,
even before it gets that, just before she leaves, she says, "Oh, this world is my home too," and he looks around and does the lie detector thing, and it doesn't say lie, but the heart rate, or that it's been monitoring before, it's really going, which. So I'm assuming that was a lie. He doesn't say it, but the visuals seem in line with that.
Then when we see what her assistant's doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the previous entire scene has trained us to basically read that final moment where he's detecting her without giving us the narration. I think that's kind of the... But I think by not giving us it does leave a little bit of wiggle room to sort of interpret exactly what it's saying. But I would also agree it feels like she's lying, but maybe it's more she's telling the truth, but there's like a caveat to it.
Or then it does spin that maybe he's not reading her right at all. And if that is true, what else, was not a lie that she did say.
Right. I was gonna say, so when her bodyguard comes in and attacks Clark, right? It's all kind of the swirl. It's almost Magic-esque. So when she says this is her world, maybe not this dimension. Maybe Earth is hers, but maybe she's from elsewhere, right?
Could be.
So because it doesn't strike me as science or anything, because by the end of the fight, this guy's taken on Superman's form.
So this is not your usual kryptonite, because obviously it has the green glow effect, but this is not just a standard kryptonite.
Yeah,
thing.
Basically he throws Clark out the window. Clark lands on the ground, and he says, "You're feeling weak, aren't you?" So it definitely implies that Clark's maybe not got all of his powers right now, or is diminished. And this guy then looks like Superman, but with green glowing eyes, and that's the cliffhanger. Yeah. So. Because
he says, "This is your fault. We might never have come here if not for you and your meddling." Yeah. Right. So there's some stuff going on here.
It says, "Oh, you're going to show what happens when you put your faith in a monster." It's clear he's not here to kill Clark right now. It's to ruin Superman's reputation. Yeah, he's going to ruin his image.
He's going to go do a bunch of bad things, looking like Superman to make people not trust him.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
Yeah, it's an interesting direction to take it in. We've been building up these Blue Earthers for a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry, I wish Cyborg Superman would come in and get mad, because that's his thing. Right? I make Superman look bad. You guys don't make Superman look bad.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to maybe see the public opinion of the people arguing on his defense, saying, "No, there's something wrong. That couldn't have been him." Or maybe it's so severe whatever he does that it does start to convince people who would normally stick up for Superman. And be curious to see how much of an effect this has going forward. Could really put to test all the trust that Superman's built over his years. So that's good. We have a couple backups. We have the Dan Jurgens Lee Weeks continuation. This is the John's been kidnapped by the alien princess and wants Clark to do something for her. And meanwhile, Doombreaker's still in a bubble at the farm.
Yeah.
The fact that Doombreaker's been in a bubble now for 4 parts of the story is I mean, obviously he's out by the end of this one, but it makes it all feel a bit comical. Well, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I wish that Jurgens would just tell a full story and just end things here instead of seeding stuff for later, right? Because, I don't know. This started off being okay, when it was John, putting his trust into somebody that betrayed him. But, yeah, Doombreaker in that bubble for a while. I don't know.
I'm kind of checked out on this. I kind of end up flicking through because I really like the Lee Weeks art with the bright watercolors. It looks great. And I just end up flicking through it, but like, I kind of don't care about what's actually happening anymore.
Yeah, I don't really care that much. And I was really kind of surprised. This is part 7. I thought, oh, this is going to be the end of the story. But by the end of this part, it's actually setting up more stuff. Now the alien princess has got Doombreaker to fight for her. Well, I mean, she's not convinced him of that yet, but she's got him like strapped to a table.
And that she has someone she's clearly working with because her parents are like, she couldn't have done this by herself. And then that's where Doombreaker gets transported into her ship.
So they're setting up like another villain who's like, so probably someone we're going to know when it turns out who it is. Would be the thing.
And probably from someone from that era of the 90s, right? Because where Jurgens is really pulling from. Yeah. The whole Death of Superman type vibe. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I just kind of want him just to tell a full story. I don't need like this to be each part. You know, it's very serialized in that way. Normally I don't mind, but like, you know, it's John in that cell has also seemed to last a while. You know,
I mean, part of it's because we've not had Action Comics in 2 months, and part of it is just that these like short 10 to 12 page segments we get every month just make everything feel really drawn out. So it's just been kind of a frustrating read.
They're kind of individually they're paced pretty well. Mm-hmm. Like each chunk doesn't feel like I'm getting a really short chunk as I'm reading it.
Yeah.
But I think it's paced fine as a backup. It's just collectively as a whole, it feels a little bit slow.
Yeah. So, and I've been feeling that. So there's a new backup at the end, which I did not read for 2 reasons. First of all, the first panel was a huge speech bubble saying Connor, which I was like, oh god, no. It's orange as well, might I point out. And then secondly, I took one look at Superboy's haircut and went, you know what, I can't do this. I'm good.
I read it just because I'd seen some spoilers on Twitter about this and I wanted to see the context for myself.
Oh, is it juicy spoilers?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, spoilers in the sense of it's Connor and his relationship with McGann, which is so it's canonized that relationship from Young Justice for the first time.
All right,
which is cool. Comics. Like, look, I like Connor Kent. There's a whole bit on the show back at the beginning.
For years.
Yes, right. I like a very specific version of Connor Kent. This whiny, I don't know who I am. It was something that I got past in Infinite Crisis, right?
Yeah.
And he knew who he was. Them backpedaling there, he's starting to become one of my least favorite members of the super family. Like, Power Girl is already pushed past. Like,
it's juicy. It's so juicy.
Emo Connor is not for me. I like self-doubt Connor would be fine. But him just being like, I don't know who I am. I always have to be something to everybody else, and I'm tired of being in Superman's shadow.
Yeah. I don't like emo Connor. I don't like sad Connor. I don't like depressed Connor. I don't like annoying Connor. I mean, I would also add some positive versions in, but there's no such thing as happy Connor or confident Connor.
John's Teen Titans got to a point that after the insider stuff, which references in here, right, when he's, there's some pages where he's talking about he doesn't know who he is. They reference that where he shaves his head because he's half Luthor and stuff. And I just even in the Bendis stuff, him spending time on Gemworld and having a family and that was all positive character progression. And now we're just going back here to the annoying Connor that I just don't like. And I think that's the goal here is we're supposed to think, because what ends up happening is that he goes to Miss Martian, and he lets her into his mind to feel, to show how he's been feeling, and it's this whole thing that he always feels like he's always been in Superman's shadow because he was meant to be a replacement Superman, and to him that's all he's been. And so as he starts having this freak out that is he's supposed to be Superboy his whole life, she kind of tries to pull him out and to calm him down, and he gets pissed that she saw all this, and he gets embarrassed and yells at her.
He invited her in to see it,
right? And because I thumbed through this before I read it just to see if I want to finish it, and I just thought like, oh, maybe she had invaded and that's something he didn't. But no, he invites her, and he, you know, we're supposed to believe that he's the, you know, the emo kid here. And I don't know. I don't like this direction it comes down to. It's not particularly, you know, poorly written, and the art looks fine. The characterization, like, I'm tired of my Young Justice peeps getting assassinated here.
I feel like Connor's story has basically just always been the same, and it's kind of what you were just saying, is we keep going back to, I don't know my place in the world, I'm just kind of in Superman's shadow. It's just been that every time. It's the exact same with Red Hood, and like the whole like, oh, Bruce, I want to kill you, you won't let me kill. Why didn't you save me, Bruce? Like, you know, it's
right. And when we have like Jason, it's because he's moved on from that, and he's almost, you know, a little bit of spoilers for the Batman Catwoman story is he's almost doing stuff just to be a thorn in Bruce's side, you know, because of this type of stuff.
It's not always done for the last decade.
Right, but it's not about him wanting to kill or not. It's just like, Bruce, you're wrong. You know, listen to Selena this time. Like, she kind of has stuff figured out, but if you're not going to listen, I'm not going to be on your side.
Having read absolutely none of it, I'm willing to bet Selena does not have stuff figured out.
She kind of does. She kind of does a little bit, but maybe there's some stuff that bigger picture, maybe not. But in the present moment, stuff's working out. But yeah, when we like Jason and stuff, it's for those moments where he goes beyond that, like, oh, Bruce won't let me kill him, the black sheep of the Bat family, you know.
No, it's because you want to kill is why you're the black sheep of the Bat family.
Right. And smart writers figure that out, and they don't bring it back up. And here I just feel like with Superboy, you know, we can coexist. Right now we have two Supergirls active right now, right? We have Power Girl and we have Kara. And, you know, they're both unique, but neither of them are doing the I don't want to be in Clark's shadow. They both have their own wants and needs, you know, and it's just so you can have multiple super family members and we don't have to constantly do this, right? Like, it's very frustrating as a Connor Kent fan. And him yelling at Ma Kent, like, I know it's supposed to be out of line, but man, come on. That lady's done so much. Like, don't take out your little teenage stuff on her, young man. I don't know. It's just a bummer. It's nice seeing Miss Martian.
The phrasing this episode has been something else.
Yeah.
Don't take out your little teenage thing on Ma Kent.
Yeah, his little teenage rage. But yeah, so I wish that the backups were consistently good, because it always feels like the action ones are always lagging behind other backups. You know, and
the detective ones have been pretty solid.
Yeah, the detective ones have been pretty solid, but like the Power Girl ones are pretty decent, I feel. You know, so we are kind of good, but then the Jurgens one was kind of But yeah, so. But yeah, just fix Connor, please. Let's get him to a point. I mean, I guess that goes for all of Young Justice at this point too, because what's Tim doing right now? What's Cassie doing right now? You know, Bart. You know, we'll get to Bart in a few, I'm sure. But yeah. DC, fix them.
Or just don't bother using them that much. That's fine.
Here's the thing: Didio spent 15 years ruining them.
True.
It's going to take time to get them back to a usable state.
And we
you
know, since the start of Rebirth, we have rehabilitated a lot of things at DC, but just obviously not everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, what are we rating Action Comics as a whole then, Connor?
I'm going to give it an. Main story would have been an 8.5. I'm going to break it down to an 8, including that backup that I read that was not too hot.
Connor? Matt, sorry.
How dare you? So I'm going to weigh, just because of the Connor stuff down at the bottom really, really upset me. But the main story would have been an 8.5, right? The Jurgen story's So that's going to get pulled down to 7.5.
Yeah, I think my attitude when it comes to these backups is that, like, if I want to just ignore them and rate the main story and pretend they don't exist, I'll do that if I feel the main story is worth the praise. And it probably helps that I didn't read the Connor one. So
yeah.
I will. I think I'll still say 8.5 just because I actually I'm just focusing really on the main story though. I'm not really even thinking about the backups. So there you go. That's Action Comics. The Flash, issue 1, legacy number 801, which is on the cover. I may actually work some of these other ones out and just say them on the show, because heck yeah.
Sad bastard.
Legacy numbers for the win, baby. So, yes, The Flash. It's a Cy Spurrier with Mike Deodato Jr. on the art. We've got a new Flash run as beginning. And we got a taste of this, and I think it was issue 800. We got like a little short story by this creative team to sort of tease what it was like. So, stylistically, it's kind of what I was expecting. It's similar art style with all the boxes that have kind of the bleed over boxes outside into the margins of the page.
There's a lot of cut up boxes. Our panels just split into boxes. I'm not gonna say for no reason, because there is a stylistic reason, but no functional reason. Yeah.
But it does create a vibe and a look. Even in the first page, the way that kind of Bart overlaps one of the breaks, but then Max doesn't, but then his speech bubble overlaps the gap. Like, it sort of gives this sense of like 3 dimensions in a weird way, but the way it's sort of bouncing backwards and forwards.
It's interesting that sometimes they're behind the bar and other times they're above. Like, it's really inconsistent. Yeah.
Well, I think the point of that is to give it the sense of movement.
It does, yeah.
So there's a purpose to it. So the basic gist of this is that the Speed Force is starting to go a bit wonky. There's something happening with it. And one of the big ideas that's brought up here, and there's a really good scene that kind of shows this, is that Mr. Terrific tries to talk to Wally about the Speed Force, and Wally just kind of shrugs everything off as, it's, Speed Force magic-y stuff, whatever, it just works. I feel it in my bones. I know it's...
Speed Force Pro, I ain't got to explain shit.
That, basically. Yep. And Mr. Terrific took that personally, basically, where he throws his phrase back at him at the end of the conversation, but he's basically explaining, scientifically, I need to try and figure this out. We need to understand what it's doing and what problems it's causing and why it's happening. And so I think at least this first arc feels like we're going to really be delving into like the Speed Force as a concept, and maybe treat it as something a bit more than just, it's this force that can let us do all these magic-y things without much explanation. So we'll see what he does with that over the course of it. But that is the basic gist, as well as Linda struggling being not just like a mum again with a new baby, but the idea that she had superpowers for like 6 months and was doing all these things at super speed and is now struggling with basically almost like PTSD or maybe postnatal depression.
It's postpartum.
But
that's how I read it.
But I think that's like multiplied by the fact that she was doing like she literally says she wrote like 5 books when she was pregnant because she had the powers to go quickly, and now she's waiting around feeding a baby, and like that's getting to her. So that's the other big plot point of this issue. We'll get to the other stuff. How did we feel about this?
Connor, you want to go first?
Sure. As soon as I did tease some thoughts on Twitter. Man, I'm disappointed in this book.
Oh, me too. This is one. There are parts of it that I liked. Right.
I like all the ideas, but it's so dense.
The execution. Well, there's that, and like, there's just a lot going on for an intro.
Also,
right?
Mr. Terrific, possibly the smartest man in the DC universe, has to be going, hey, remember PEDMAS? Basic maths, bro. Like, what?
Yeah, I just think those meant to...
I didn't even know if that was meant to be Mr. Terrific in that scene at first, because I was like, that can't be, surely.
Yeah.
And there's a page later where Wally walks in, and then it's like, it is him. But yeah, that completely baffled me. The idea that
who's he talking to there? It's some random person, right?
It's mysterious. It's this guy in like a big kind of white hat. Terrific calls him Inspector. He's got like a cowl on, like almost like Batman-esque cowl over most of his face.
Yeah.
But we never see it. It never addresses that he's there. Wally never acknowledges him. He just hides in a corner.
He also has a big white hat as well as the...
I did say the big white hat.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing I said.
Aye. But then he said...
He's only from the future, right? This is what I'm getting.
I definitely get the vibe that he's from the future, maybe even used to be a speedster or something, and knows that the speedster's existence is going to
And okay,
break
you
time.
want to tell me this guy can correct Mr. Terrific's maths? Like, okay, I can get on board with that if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to use that as a benchmark of how smart he is, but to go, hey, no, you forgot like the stuff you learn when you're like 13.
I wish Spurrier had taken he just talked to a national mathematician and go, hey, how would a really smart person forget? And it wouldn't have been PEMDAS, right? It would have been anything else
Yeah, that's so basic, right? That is that's like middle of high school sort of level of that everyone knows.
On social media, they'll put up those quizzes, right, where people will be like, "Is this what number is this?" And you always get the idiots arguing in the comments of what it is
because they don't follow. Yeah,
right.
Which is fine. It's annoying watching those people be wrong, but it's fine.
DC's third smartest man shouldn't be one of those guys. That's missing that, especially when he's off by 0.4. It wasn't like 0.0004, right? It says he's off by 0.4.
Yeah,
that's pretty big in math.
Because I genuinely, when I was reading this, I was like, "Is this Mr. Terrific?" Because he's in his civvies for the start of the scene, and I was questioning maybe it's someone else, and I'm just misreading. That it's meant to be him. It does say Mr. Holt at one point, but I'm like, maybe I'm misreading it somehow because this is moronic.
And maybe this is Spurrier tipping his hand that it's not going to be a purely intelligence mathematical type thing, right? Because at the beginning, what I do like is that intro with Bart and Max Mercury. Right, all the different names.
Before we move on to something else, I haven't said anything about the scene yet.
Oh,
I could not give a shit about any of this, and you two have went on for 5 minutes. I don't care.
It's so wildly out of character.
I don't care.
No.
I feel like if we're gonna get
character assassination, Mr. Terrific
character assassination
wrong is character assassination.
Look, the way the character says sorry clearly indicates that he's being condescending as he says it, right? So I just kind of take it is not even so much that this is exactly why he's wrong, just this is how he's poking at him to prod him. I don't know, I don't care. Even if it's exactly the way you say it is, I just don't care. I don't care.
No, but here's the thing, if you're gonna fill up your book with a bunch of scientific technical jargon like he does in the next page with the different models of the universe, you can tell that Spurrier has done some research to bring to the book. Just, I don't know, get that other one right for the third smartest man in DC. That's all. I feel like Brainiac messing that up. It just doesn't compute. But now let me go back to the part that I do like from the beginning, where I think this book's going to go. My main problems with this is there's so much going on, and it's sometimes I would just get lost in all the wording, right? And sometimes it feels like a novel, and my brain would wander, right, instead of keeping it going. And I don't know if I want that in a flash book, right? I like my flash books to be more kinetic, and you can tell a deep story still, but weighing it down with all these words, I don't know.
It's so much. There's also that. There's a page while the kids are getting ready. I think it's while she's starting to do the breastfeeding at that point in the morning, and it gets to here's just a block of text on either side of a panel in the middle. They're not even a text box anymore or a narration box. Just here's 4 paragraphs. Have at it.
Yeah, it's definitely dense. I mean, I'm not going to argue that.
But
I think I like this more than you guys did, because I don't really feel like there's so much going on. Everything feels connected to me, so I didn't really have that overwhelming idea.
No, I feel like everything's connected. It's not that. It's just there's a lot. There's a lot going on with the whole idea that the Speed Force is broke, right? There's something up. But I feel like what they're doing here with the introduction of Max Mercury and all the different names he's gone by, and how he has constantly been able to go, right, is because he ascends and he uses the Speed Force to do this. And that it's almost as if, and Pete's going to hate this because of Star Wars and stuff, it's kind of like the concept of the Force, where the Force... Yeah, George tried to make it with midichlorians and it's this biological thing. But at the end of the day, the Force exists because you believe in the Force. right?
There is that one panel where he says, "I am one with the Speed Force," and it was
Yeah.
straight out of the two from Rogue One.
Yeah, Sheridan Way.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen. And so,
Yeah.
like, just the idea of the Speed Force as this philosophical thing, and that's why Mr. Terrific feels like there's something wrong with it, because it isn't scientific. It is this kind of thought form that changes and adapts to the people that are using it, right? And so for Max, it's this thing that he attains enlightenment for. But for Wally, it is this battery that allows him to, be a hero and whatnot. And so I like all of that stuff. It's just the in-between that we get going on. There's a lot.
The idea that Wally and the other speedsters have been sort of tapping into it without ever really understanding how it works or what damage they might be causing by using it as heavily as they do is an interesting concept to go into. I really like the art. I think Deodato Jr.'s art's really good.
Yeah.
I love, especially when it is moments like like them speeding about the house and Linda like yelling at the kids and the conversation around the couch and all that stuff. I love that series of panels where she's breastfeeding, and I think Wally's like running around getting the kids ready, so there's like the lightning's all around her, but it's kind of visualizing this, how she feels like she's standing still and being surrounded by all this stuff. I think there's a lot of smart stuff going on here. It's definitely a very different feel to a flashback. It does feel like something, it feels like something that maybe, I'm not saying it feels like his writing, but it feels like something that maybe tonally that Tom King would write about another character, and we're doing kind of that with Wally West and the Flash. And while it's not the first tone or anything like that I would think of when it comes to the Flash, I do think it's a good idea to sort of vary it up every once in a while, and this does feel quite refreshing after like the relatively consistent tone Flash has had for a while. Certainly, obviously there's been different teams and different runs since the start of Rebirth too, really overall, but I would say that tonally it was pretty similar across both of them. There's kind of a vibe it goes for.
Yeah.
This feels like it's doing something a little bit different, which I kind of appreciate. I do think it is a bit wordy. I do think there's a weird panel where Mr. Terrific seems to magically turn into his outfit.
Yeah, I was questioning that as well. I'm like, nanotech?
That's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming it's meant to be
a jacket. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's meant to be some like tech that he's got that transformed the outfit, but it doesn't show it well enough to make it clear that that's what's happening.
It literally doesn't. I just happened to actually get that page up right now. It doesn't actually show anything. It's one panel. He's normal. The very next panel, it's superhero outfit. There is no transition whatsoever.
It's very, very weird. It almost feels like a mistake was made in the art and it was too late to correct it or something. But do you get the sense that Wally's having these little flashes where he's like sort of like seeing nightmarish things that are coming from the Speed Force and he's downplaying it, but there's this warning of the uncoiled are coming, which obviously pays off at the end. The big thing plot-wise that's going on outside of all this is that Grodd and an army of gorillas, all with like tech on them, have been attacking places, and then seemingly people are being abducted into these bubbles that are sort of freezing them in time, and they're going somewhere. So that's kind of the mystery that is there to be solved, which is probably related to what's going on with the Speed Force, but certainly it's presented as a slightly separate thing right now.
And there's a speedster kid called Chad.
There's that was a bit random at the end, but we'll see where that goes. But there was also a random speedster early on in the first fight as well.
Indigo,
The Indigo.
Yeah, Indigo. Yeah.
I took that as the Indigo streak was this Chad guy.
Yeah, maybe the same guy.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm sure they'll tap into that. Actually, the scene that I loved though, I loved the stuff with the kids at the school. I thought this was super interesting. I loved the family build. I love that this still seems to be keeping everything that was on the last run in continuity. So you've got Maxine being Iray's like best friend at school, and even them teasing or hinting that Maxine's got a crush on Jay, and like so they're bickering kind of thing.
Iray's not handling it well.
No.
Yeah.
And they also seem to have slightly aged up, like not like a big jump, but just like a sort of we're kind of about to get into that preteens age now.
They're in Stranger Things season 2.
Yeah. Well, I say that because there's a direct reference where she says that Maxine said she walked in on her brother once and he was doing something disgusting, and I thought, we're kind of getting to that age where that's becoming maybe a concern for them.
Yeah.
So
So what was Jay doing in the dark room, in the boiler room?
Well,
then?
yeah, so the setup of this is that they're wondering where Jay is because he gets sent to the principal or whatever, and it's been a while. So they use their powers so that Irie can sneak out, and she speeds down to the basement where she can hear him in the next door, and she comes in, and he's got his shirt off, and it's like he was talking to someone, but he just kind of like doesn't tell her anything. And then as they leave this boiler room, there's this little figure, like this little silhouette of someone on the ground, like someone small. So who the hell is this? Is this some version of the Atom that he was talking to? Like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I'm really frustrated because I like a lot of the ideas, and like that is presented as story beats. But man, it's just such a drag to read. Like, it took me multiple attempts.
I don't agree with it being a drag. I think it is dense, and I think the fact that this was an oversized first issue did make it felt longer even more than it would.
It took me 3 seconds to read this.
I read it in one, and if this was only like the usual 20 pages, I think I would have just been fine. I think I'd have got to the end and be like, okay, that was obviously a more dense read than most books, but I did not have that much of a problem with this. I think there's some nitpicks to be had for sure, but I really like the art, and I like all the concepts it's playing with.
You won't even let us nitpick over Mr. Terrific getting maths wrong.
You can nitpick, but you went on for 5 minutes. That was not a nitpick. At that point, you literally said character assassination. That is not a nitpick.
Well,
you can't say something's a nitpick and then say it's character assassination. Those two things completely oppose each other.
No, if it's a character I don't care that much about.
Then why are you whining about it so much?
Because it's still not right.
Oh, you... Like, if anything, the only thing that I'm less than excited about is Chad at the end, and this villain who is the coiled, or one of the coiled that shows up at the very end.
Yeah,
we see this big spiky looking alien looking dude.
Yeah. I don't know if I like the idea of the Speed Force being this alien thing, right? Maybe it's just something that they share, because we did have that, what were they called, in the Minute War. Mm-hmm. We had them that they would use the Speed Force for other things too. So I mean, but this feels like it's another dimensional type being, and that's
this feels like maybe not that they created the Speed Force, so maybe they'll go down that route. But I'm thinking of this, like, Connor will get this reference more than you, Matt. But like something like Mass Effect till the Expanse, where you discover something that some other race that's ancient built the tech. I'm wondering if we're going to do something here where there was this species in another dimension or whatever it is that originally used the Speed Force, and the speedsters have been tapping into it too much. They lived
there before.
Yeah. So I could see them going down something like that route. I do think the ending's quite sudden, and someone just calling your character Chad's just not a good idea. But all in that, I actually quite like most of this issue. I mean, I'm definitely in for issue 2 at the very least.
Oh yeah, look, I put up with a lot worse in Flash books. Right?
Yes.
I read in the dark era of the New 52. Okay, this is not, like, again, maybe it was a little harsh to say I actively disliked it.
Matt, I knew Connor was going to come in whining, because I saw his tweet. I knew he was going to whinge about it being dense.
I wanted to love this book because I really like some other Spurrier stuff. I read I'm sure it was a Spurrier book not long ago, where he did a full 4 issues of a silent comic, and it was phenomenal. 4 issues, no dialogue whatsoever. The man can craft an amazing story with a great artist, and there's this.
I just don't think that dense is always bad. I mean, Wonder Woman #1 last week was very dense, but
there's dense and flow. Like, this has no flow to it. It's just walls of text is what it feels like.
In times, it reminded me of Superman Lost, where he's it's just going on about certain things way too long. But there are germs there that I do enjoy, and I'm curious. I'm going to keep reading.
Yeah, I like this more than that for sure.
Even so, there's a page, it's right before the title page, where he's getting interviewed. And it's supposed to be like, all these people ask him questions at once. And usually in those, it's spaced out. It's like, you don't actually need to read all of these questions word for word, because they're kind of just meant to represent, the noise. But he's actually answering it. There is a specific flow and I owe you credit to the letterer. It's really clear which direction it's supposed to read, what reads when. But there's so much of it just in this like 2 panels at the bottom of the page that it's just like, and it's, if that was the only instance, it'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But it feels like that throughout like 50% of the book.
Actually, I'm glad you brought up that page, because there's a little tease here that we might. It's just worth mentioning is that Grod, or one of the apes, mentions something about sorry to hear about the breakup. Now, obviously, you hear that and assume couple breaking up, and that's what the reporter reads it as. She's like, "Oh, are you single?" And he's like, "No, I'm a family man." And obviously, Linda's not in a great place right now. And I'm not.
Right.
I don't think this is necessarily building up to like the split up of Wally and Linda, but I think that tease is there because something is going to break up. But clearly, this is information from the future or something. So I mean, we'll see where that goes. But
I honestly, I read that as maybe like he's physically breaking up, like his atoms are like coming apart. Almost.
Yeah, I can see that. I may be right.
That'd be really weird for him for some random ape to tell the Flash, sorry about your breakup. Yeah. About him falling apart at the molecular level.
Yeah, it makes me wonder.
I mean, it was Grod, wasn't it? Not like just random ape.
Yeah, it was Grod by that point, yeah, because he's got.
Oh, was Grod?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because he's got the different face thing on, doesn't he? Because they all have some tech on, but Grod's got like the visor thing.
They've all got a visor, but Grod's has like the bronze things going around it as well.
He's got extra bits, which I think is just a simple art touch, so we always know that he's Grod in the context of the scene,
right?
Which is smart.
Yeah.
You know. I love that title page, by the way, with all the harsh purples and yellows and sort of
it's a nice page.
The negative color of like the detail. It's very good. Yeah. I don't know. I like this as a slightly more moody flashback. I think the Adams run, for the most part, was designed to be like, okay, we need to give Wally happiness, so we're going to be a really happy run where there's never too many like serious threats. It's going to be about rehabilitating the family and making it happy fun times. This, to me, from issue 1, feels like, okay, we're continuing that continuity, but it's time to give him a serious story again where the stakes might be high, you know?
Let's give him some pain.
Yeah. Well, superheroes need some pain sometimes. That's okay. As long as they don't just completely nuke the character by ruining the entire dynamic. Like, if by the end of this, Linda's divorced them and like 2 of the kids are dead, then yes, we can give him shit for it. But right now, this is all right. This is just.
We might as well just call him Peter Parker at that point.
Yeah, reading Spider-Man for the last 70 years or whatever it's been, at the 60 years probably. Yeah. It just must be such a depressing thing because they just keep going back.
Everything I hear specifically about this current run is, not good. Really not good.
Yeah. I'm so gonna just ruin the fact that Connor saying that Mr. Terrific didn't remember PEMDAS's character assassination. That's gonna go up there with the Joker cross.
Put it on a T-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way,
I think Comics Twitter will have my back on that.
For the record, I actually was never taught that phrase to remember that.
No, we did Bodmas, I think it was.
I don't even think we had a phrase like that. I mean, I had acronyms for other things. We had SOHCAHTOA for, trigonometry, and we had.
I think Bodmas was, brackets, order, division, multiplication. Addition, subtraction.
And then music, of course, for the notes. It was every good boy deserves females, was how you remembered the lines. Connor's thinking.
In England, it was football, not females.
I think it was football at first.
Scotland versus England.
And then someone said females is better, so then we just stuck to that.
It sounds a bit incel-y, doesn't it, when you say females like that?
Well, yeah, but F doesn't stand for women or girls, so you have to go with it.
It does stand for football.
And then the spaces were face, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, face.
Yeah.
For us, it was "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." That's what you remembered them going. So yeah,
those are the ones for all the string instruments as well, for what order they were in. Like they've all got a little acronym for them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. Again, I've gone through worse parts of the Flash. This is just a speed bump, if you will. Because I'm so going to keep reading. It's not, again, I like the ideas enough and I like certain things, but yeah, it felt like a chore at points.
It's honestly like if I read the second issue as it comes out, great, I'll read it. If it gets to the point where I've got 2 or 3 of these to read at once, that's the point where I'm. If I open up the second issue and it's still like this, that's the point where I don't know if I'll have it in me to sit and read that much.
All right, well, let's get to rating. Connor, what are you rating The Flash issue 1?
I'm gonna go 4.
Matt?
I'm just going to go with a solid 7.
I forgot about Matt's rate. It's absurd.
Well, I'm giving it an 8, which,
Yeah.
and my scaling is an 8. Just
Yeah, I believe that.
yeah. I think I argued my points, and it makes sense that I gave it an 8.
On Matt's scale, like, if it was lining up with either of ours, based on what he said, I can't see it being anything higher than like a 5.5 or a 6 at most, at best. But no, it's a 7 at least.
But he listened to reason. He heard my points, and he thought, you know what, Peter's onto something here.
No, because again, it wasn't. Again, I was probably too harsh saying I actually disliked it, but it wasn't. It didn't leave me with a great feeling. It left me with an okay feeling.
Like,
7 is okay.
I'm not putting
7 is good.
I'm not going to put stakes on this, like, landing the distance. Like this could end up being a crappy run as time goes on. Like, I have no way of knowing that right now. But I think I like this issue, and I think there's potential and promise here. Right? It's not flawless, but I liked a lot in it. So,
give me more Max Mercury, please. Running into Buffalo.
I mean, I'm not that fussed about Max Mercury, but I'll take him over Chad.
Yeah, Chad. I hope Chad the Speedster becomes a thing, though, because it is so funny. It's like the Brad Pitt character in Deadpool 2.
He'll never be the best, Chad.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, moving on. Green Arrow issue 4, Joshua Williamson writing and Sean Isaacs on the art. So here's a book that we might all agree on the quality of, maybe? Possibly?
I have no idea what's going on anymore.
That's a fair request.
I get it.
I vaguely remember Parallax Hal Jordan showing up at the end of the last issue. When I saw him here, I was like, oh yeah, I think that happened at the end of the last one.
Yeah, and we're in the future, and then there's Brick in a club, and I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, Brick in the club's not in the future, though.
It's not, no, that's
in the present. But yeah, we get references to 0 Hour and Final Night and all this other stuff. Why? I don't know. Because Ollie is determined to break up the family because of something bad happening.
So Oliver in the future, or in a different timeline, or whatever, made a deal with this Parallax to keep his family apart, because if they don't, there'll be another Coast City, but in Star City instead, right? And the end of this issue is our Oliver ends up in this post-apocalyptic Star City, and then I think old future Oliver shows up at the end, because he's been there the entire time. And he's grown old there. So that's the cliffhanger. But yeah, meanwhile, Dinah and Roy are looking for information, and they go to the club and they talk to Brick. And
more importantly, they're there to find Cheshire.
Yeah.
Right? So because it's Leon's her daughter too. And, because of timey-wimey stuff, I just, man, this just bums me out. I love the Green Arrow section
they called her
DC.
They called her Jade. Right? Which obviously is Cheshire, but I immediately, like, because her outfit's kind of similar, I just immediately thought of Mortal Kombat. Because... and I'm not even like a Mortal Kombat guy. I don't play fighting games, but...
Yeah.
The image popped in my head.
The art's still really, really good in this book. The 2-page fight between, Ollie and Hal being like, with no powers and no bow. Just that sequence, that's a lot of fun to read. Like, to shut your brain off and don't care about the story, fun to read. But the art of it it's a great little visual couple of pages.
Yeah, the middle of this book is basically Parallax lets Hal Jordan see Dinah and Roy at the bar and getting into a fight. But he's not really there. He's just kind of like a ghost watching kind of thing. And so we get some of the plot, but we also have this. Cheshire finds out that that her kid's involved, because I actually forgot about the other ones trapped in the future, because we eventually go to the Legion of Superheroes, and it's like, oh yeah, Connor Hawke in Shoes, right?
Yeah.
Obviously Leanne, but Shoes is a more fun name. But I'm like, oh yeah, Legion, and they're talking about stuff, and the whole thing here is like, oh, we can't travel through time, that's illegal. But then they point out, well, someone's already messing up the timeline by traveling, so shouldn't you travel to arrest them and stop them? And it's like, I'm like, yeah, that's Time Cop, baby. Where's Van Damme? Let's get some Time Cop action going here. Honestly, my big thing about this book, and nothing is more emblematic of it than when I just turn the page and we're with the Legion of Superheroes. And this is not a knock against the Legion. Green Arrow is not the comic book where I want to turn the page and see people talking to Legion of Superheroes. That's what you do with one of the Super Family, maybe. You do cosmic stories with them. I don't want time travel stories with the Green Arrow team. I want them fighting more low-key crime in the city.
Here's the thing.
Street level.
I could even be okay and see a specific Green Arrow book that's cosmic, playing through his Green Lantern connection and friendship.
Sure.
I can see you kind of almost do, hard traveling heroes, but this time other way around, where they're both off planet. I can see that book.
Time traveling heroes. That's what this was. This is what this is becoming.
But this was shit.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they go and reference hard traveling heroes, like, again, I like that. But this is Williamson doing the member berries thing again.
Yeah, so
right?
he references a lot of stuff in this issue. Yeah, like the entire, and don't get me wrong, doing the recap of the friendship so that for context of the comic is fine. Like, I get that, but it is like, but it's really on the nose. Where it's like, oh, we were traveling hard, and I'm like, no one would ever say that. That you're saying it that way because the story was, or the period was called Hard Traveling Heroes.
Right.
That is an unnatural line of dialogue. There's no two ways about it.
In Dusty Rhodes' Hard Time promo and put it over the art, because it still would have, right? Like it still matches, but they went through the hard times, baby. So I wasn't, but this book bums me out just because I want to read a Green Arrow book, and I've been chasing the high of Green Arrow Year One, which I'm a big fan of,
and
Lemire's Green Arrow,
and Percy's Run, no.
And Percy's Run, but the two that I always hold up as like my favorite Arrow stories are Year One by Diggle and Jock, and then Lemire's.
Lemire and Sorrentino. I'm a big fan of the Kevin Smith stuff personally. I think that's a lot. It's a little bit more mired in continuity than those other two.
Yeah,
it's a very good book as well.
But those ones. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I like Percy's Rebirth run. I liked Year One, and I've not read the actual run, but I read the first story of the Mike Grell stuff, which obviously is a bit more dated, but I kind of like for how gritty and grimy it was. It kind of felt like a different era. And in the same way that when you read Batman Year One, it doesn't necessarily feel like modern Batman, but it's this is kind of cool because this is like from this tougher era kind of thing.
But what I think about all the ones that we are enjoying is it is more grounded style, because at the end of the day, Green Arrow is just a brighter version of Batman, right? He has the gadgets and the money and all of this other stuff, but he wears a bright green suit, right? And he's Oliver Queen is kind of a smartass that talks way more smack, and I don't feel like we're getting into that. We're getting this weird cosmic reality jumping, and it's just not working. The tone. Yeah, despite Williamson's best efforts, just aren't working.
I know Green Arrow does have some villains like Vertigo who are a bit more over the top, but like I kind of think of Green Arrow as having less of a rogues gallery and more, he fights corrupt billionaires, he fights thugs, he fights, again, more normal things. Whereas Batman, when he starts with that, but the whole, Batman's whole thing is that it turns into Joker, Two-Face, Riddler, all these big, larger than life characters.
Yeah. Brick is essentially like a Kingpin-esque character that just has, brick-styled skin, So at the end of the day, he's still doing street-level, thug type stuff.
I mean, let's be honest, he's
works.
just Green Arrow's blockbuster. That's just what he is.
Well, yes,
he is. Yeah.
But he's more fun because he's red. All right.
I don't know if I agree that he's more fun. Like blockbuster.
I think he's more fun. I like Brick. I think Brick, and he was also, wasn't he Vinnie Jones on Arrow?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So.
I didn't even realize that's who he played.
Yeah.
I probably did at the time because they called him Brick.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember that.
No. We made fun of it at the time. Don't worry.
Yeah. So like
Juggernaut and Brick. What a career that man has led.
Yes.
Icon.
He is. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Joshua Williamson, you have failed this city.
Speaking of that, did you see someone went to a Comic-Con dressed as the Oliver Queen grave and got a picture with Grant Gustin?
Yes, I did see that.
That's pretty good.
Yes, and Grant did the pose.
Yeah.
So,
I love that he's leading into that, and Stephen Amell apparently hates it. He hates that picture.
Well, he's got more things to worry about because
yeah. Well, his show got cancelled. Well, his show did get cancelled, and he almost got cancelled for speaking out against the actor strike. So good luck with that.
Yeah, he has bigger issues. He has failed himself.
Yes, yeah. He was even trying to he was trying to promote his show. They're not allowed to promote, but he was taking lots of Instagram photos with the billboard for the show behind him. Like really, what are you doing? Like you're clearly still promoting the show right now by posting these.
Yeah.
Oh, what a tit. Oh well.
Yep.
Oh well. Yeah. So Green Arrow. I mean, it's an easy, quick read, which is probably why we're all still doing it just to talk about it. But it's not good. It's not what we want from Green Arrow. It's a bit of a train wreck. So, hey, what are you giving it, Connor?
I give it a 4, and that's probably dragging it up like a full point just for the art being really nice.
Okay, Matt.
You ready for this? You ready? It's a 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
I must have hated this book.
God. You think it, fondled his wife with a score like that? Jeez. 5 out of 10. Yeah. I'll agree with the 4, but I'm not going to do it too dramatic here. All right, that is Green Arrow. The Penguin, issue 2, Tom King with Rafael Lee Latorre on the art, or D. Latorre. So I swapped the two letters. D. Latorre. So issue 1 was like, holy shit, this was amazing. Tom King has no business doing a Penguin book that's that good. There's no justification for it.
So I've never had a lot of thoughts on the Penguin, right? Like he's
that's a lie.
Well, no,
you've had many thoughts on every stupid DC character, Matt.
Yeah, but what I mean is like he doesn't rank high in like my favorite Bat characters. Like Penguin's fine, right? Tom King turning him to this ruthless dude that literally, I don't want to call him like, he's not like because Batman, but I am feeling like because Cobblepot, right? But it works because of the ruthlessness and just the drive that he has, the pure evil. And he really amps it up in this one.
Oh yeah, so the first issue, and indeed the whole series gimmick, seems to be that the narration always comes from everyone else. We never get Penguin's narration. It's always from whoever he's talking to in the scene. And with the exception of the Help himself, who narrates the first page and last page, everyone who narrates in this who works for the Help, so it's like his cook, his his doctor, his shooting master. He's filthy rich, this dude, right? He's got like a staff of 28 people. We hear the narration from various of those people over the course of the issue as they have to interact with Penguin in some form. And the fact that every single one of them are dead by the end of the issue just adds a dark undertone to the fact that it's all their perspectives, and then by the end of the issue, Penguin has killed them all. It's something. Now, I don't think this is as amazing as issue 1, because issue 1 had that phenomenal build to him like finally cracking and becoming the Penguin again. But this was a very good follow-up, which is all about Penguin he's trying to recruit the Help, but the Help's retired, and he's like 92 years old, apparently. And he's basically saying, no, I love that Penguin sends him a note that just says whack whack on it.
Yep.
I thought that was funny. And the Help basically laughs him out the room and says, nope, I'm good. I'm retired. You like... Which,
one thing I've learned over comics is you do not laugh at Oswald Cobblepot.
Oh, no, yeah. That's the one thing you do,
You do not do. And the Help is a Tom King creation, right?
I think so, yeah, because Killing Time is what he's from, yeah. Yeah,
so like the Help might be my favorite like Tom King created character at this point, because he's adapted all the other ones. I don't know of too many, other than Gotham and Gotham Girl, right? So to experience this issue through the eyes of the Help and to see, what Oswald is capable of, and we've seen what the Help can do, right? We know from Killing Time like how lethal this guy is, and to see him outmaneuvered by Oswald as this issue goes to basically force him back into, service.
Yeah,
it's really quite a turn.
Because he turns him down, and then he invites him to stay over to the next day so that he can go out shooting with him and socialize basically. Penguin tries to threaten him with the gun, so the Help hits him with the gun and like, okay, you've asked politely and now unpolitely or impolitely, and now that's it. And then he gets treated by the Help's doctor, who fixes his nose. And by the way, there's casual references in this to the Help, giving Lady Shiva training still. Some of the world's best villains still go to him to learn how to be better fighters. So this is something that they do. Maybe it's a little comical when he's describing what his day is, and it's he goes for a run for 2 hours and then cools off with a 10-mile swim and then does some wrestling in the evening. Okay, all right, you're overselling just how amazing this guy is.
Well, there's that, and he's you said he's 92, but I remember reading 85.
He retired at 85, but he says
he retired at 85, and it's been years. Okay, so this is a
which confused me at first, but then I remembered Killing Time is set in
the past.
Yeah, it's in the past, yeah.
Yes. So this guy's so old he could run for Senate in the United States, right? And he's still capable of all these things. So I feel like there's more to him too that we're gonna learn. If he's training Shiva, there's a reason why he's still so capable at this old age, right? But it's still the fact that the point is he is not someone that gets served. He is the one that does the serving, and Oswald has to remind him of that. And that dark reminder is what sealed this one for me.
Yeah, Penguin kills the doctor, just strangles him to death right in there, and he gets an audience with the Help before he's going to go, and Penguin shoots his butler in the head with his umbrella. And then the Help passes out because he's had his drink poisoned. Turns out the chef wasn't as happy at his job, so an easy little bribe took care of that, according to Penguin. So we get this great 9-panel grid where whenever we get the POV of the Help, it's kind of blurry, and he's struggling to hear what he's saying. It's all very dumb. But when he wakes up from this drug that he's been given, all of his staff are lying dead around the room. And Penguin's making a speech about getting his attention, and it's all about breaking him down. And it ends with him whacking the Help in the face with his umbrella and saying, "You should not be served. You serve others." And hits him, and he starts yelling at, "You're not to be served. You're a servant," which really speaks to what Penguin thinks of himself. He's no. Yep. I am to be served, but you're a servant. So I'm very curious to see how this goes. But the last page is the Help going with Penguin and even opening Penguin's door for him. So he is becoming his, his leading force. Yeah. Well, he's valet, but I assume he's going to want him to fight as well because.
Yeah. He's going to be his muscle. You would figure this is how he does. It almost feels like a Dark Ocean's 11. Now that I think about it.
Oh, he's building his team to. He's building his team to take back Gotham. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I also feel like the Help is a wild card because I don't feel like he's going to take this laying down.
There will probably at a very key point in the story. There's probably going to be some revenge or comeuppance for what the Penguin's done here. Possibly.
Well, I'm wondering because remember how it opened with Batman, right, being shot and whatnot. And he's stuck with Oswald in the bat plane in the water. I'm wondering if the Help maybe has something to do with that, right? He's just going to take out Batman and Oswald.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that teaser, what the future's going to have.
So we know something goes sideways, right? We just don't know what, and we do know that it brings us up to modern in the time. So it's man. I'm also thinking about all the characters that King's worked on in the Bat family that I've really enjoyed. And, we'll talk about the Joker stuff when we get to Brave and the Bold. But when I think about his Riddler from War of Jokes and Riddles, I thought that was really a really fun take on Riddler, right? The whole order, versus chaos and all of that. I'm trying to think who else has he done that sticks out? Because Penguin now do this.
I did a good Mr. Freeze story.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze.
He did a good Bane story early on.
I didn't like his Bane though.
I like some of his Bane stuff. Yeah. But
Did he do Two-Face in that run or no?
I don't remember any.
Yeah, I don't remember Two-Face. I don't either. At least not prominently anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to do this. Also, his One Bad Day Riddler as well. on top of that. Like, so I feel like King is leaving his mark on these Gotham villains in the best way possible. So, but yeah,
that's very good stuff.
Really enjoyed this one. Despite how dark it gets. Maybe not to the heights of the first, but it was a good read.
Despite how dark it gets, I like it because of how dark it gets.
Yeah. Well, this is the difference between you and me, Pete.
But yeah, the art was very good again. Really plays with the different coloring schemes depending on what's going on. I love that. And the scene where he does strangle the Doctor, and it's the first time he really gets violent in the issue. Like the panels become very pink, almost as if they've been stained by blood. And he looks like he's in that sort of pink light as he's strangling the Doctor at the bottom of the page. Just really good use of colors, simple layouts, but really effective in how it's doing all these things. So, yeah, very, very, very good. Issue 1 was like a damn near perfect first issue. This was a solid follow-up, but not quite as amazing as that first issue. So what are you giving it, Matt?
I'm going to give this an 8.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with the 8. Yeah, very good. So, Unstoppable Doom Patrol, issue 6, Dennis Culver writing with Chris Burnham on the art. The penultimate issue of the book, and first half of a 2-parter, according to the title, to wrap things up. It's mostly a big fight scene. We start off with the...
I do suspect this issue, it was planned as a 6-issue mini, and it got to this point, and he was like, can I have one more?
Yeah, probably, actually.
Please, yeah.
It's mostly a big fight.
But I like because... Go ahead, Pete.
Well, sorry, you could give your thought. I was going to start explaining what the issue was.
Oh, got you. But I like because each of the issues has been different, right? And they've all felt like one-shots. So to tie it all together, I would feel like he'd need more than just one issue to tie all these little threads that we've seen.
I feel like last issue kind of started to do that, though, because it kind of like said, oh, that thing from issue 2 was part of this, that thing from issue 3 was part of this. It kind of started to bring them all together. It starts off innocently enough with just them doing some training, like capture the flag exercises. Flex Metallo's got his team of misfits that he's training, including Jarrow, who's on someone's face. Or Starbro. Sorry, yes. Right. I mixed up my Starro offshoots. Yep. And basically they're playing capture the flag with the Doom Patrol, and that takes up a few pages. It's kind of fun seeing them use their powers against each other. It's all very playful. But then a portal opens up, and the issue largely becomes this huge fight scene with all of these other misfits that are fighting for the villains, for the evil company man. Do you know what? Like, I think it would probably be fair to critique that because it is one big fight scene, there's not a lot of progression, and maybe that's disappointing. But there's something about this gallery of characters, both on the good and villain side, that's just so weird and wacky and kind of fun to like see who they all are. But there's still a lot of entertainment to be had from this, but it's definitely not a complete story. Like, under no circumstances is that.
It's why I think this was like not stretched into 2 issues, but I think was requested to have an extra issue. Is so that we could have this just fun stuff, because all of this basically gets cut into like a 1-page sequence if you have to condense, I assume, condense this with the next issue. This is, while really fun, easily cuttable in terms of a story.
I'm perfectly okay with them stopping to take time so Cliff can name different powers so the quiz can't have them.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of this, is that the quiz, if like, it can do any power that you
can't think of.
Yeah, that you can't think of. So he's like, start naming superpowers. So he starts naming things. And I love the bit where it's clearly affecting the chief because she's feeling woozy or whatever. And she's doubting herself. And they're trying to think, what power is this? How can we like stop this from working? And what did they end up? Was it
imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome, that's what it was. Yeah. That's what they eventually yell out that gets it to stop. Yep. But all of this builds up because the actual villain... what's the dictator dude's name again?
It's Immortus.
Immortus, thank
Colonel
you.
Immortus.
He's got Mala digging up the dead body of Dorothy out in the grave and does like a spell or something with it as actions going on, and it all builds up to him. It looks like he gets melted towards the end, but when he
drinks a little vial of wax.
Yeah, he climbs out the grave, and he is now a melting skeleton.
Looks like a melting candle. The eternal flame.
But he's a skull, though. It's like a skull that's melting, like a skull made of wax. Yeah.
So when his face started melting, I thought, oh man, this is like Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is great. Like, melt that dude. And then when Mala looks in and goes, oh no, or he goes no, right? And you're just like, oh my god, was not expecting, melting skeleton man.
No,
I like this
out.
dude. He looks cool.
Yeah.
it does look kind of cool.
You guys are more familiar with Doom Patrol. What was Dorothy's power set? Like, why would they specifically need to dig her up? Is it just because she was so close with all of them? She's kind of like the heart of the team, or what?
Her power set, if I remember correctly. I don't know why he had to dig her up necessarily, but
Okay.
wasn't her power set that she would like make things appear, like like nightmares and stuff would become real?
Yeah, it was kind of like almost like wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like physical manifestations of them.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
maybe that's what they needed here was just that vibe, for the spell to go through.
yeah. Kevlin shows up. Who's this dude with him? Is the cat? Who's this character?
If we went back and looked at the one issue where the slug guy, where Velvet is going through the whole facility.
The vents and all
I
that,
remember this group like being kind of off to their own. It was like the magical side of the Doom Patrol. I don't remember his name though, but
Okay.
I remember seeing him there.
I did love Niles just whipping out some machine guns from his wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's classic Niles.
Yeah, that gave me a chuckle.
And then
All of it did, yeah.
yeah, animal, vegetable, mineral girl, and her raven that becomes a dinosaur. Big fan of that.
Yeah,
That's
or
pretty cool.
Just AVM for short, apparently now. It's just a bit of a mouthful, quite rightly. So yeah, all this stuff is just kind of good fun. It's just playing with all these weird characters and what their powers are, for the most part, and then having this sort of set up at the end with the cliffhanger just to set up whatever the final issue is going to be. So yeah, and the art's still really good from Burnham.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love all the
Burnham
stuff.
always turns in some good art, to be fair.
Yeah, Mental looks great in the tank whenever it goes back to him.
That shot of Dr. Cinco and Mento looking face to face, right, showing that stuff has really gone sideways with all this. I thought that was really good too.
Yeah, even Cliff's face has some great expressions on it, where it's just enough of a sort of angle to the upper lip, if you want to call it that, where you just sort of get like a really good sort of like, sort of idea from him. So, yeah, no, it's a good fun time. That looks really good. I'm excited for the last issue. This has been a great little miniseries. Like, I would totally love if this was an ongoing, but obviously, we'll get our final issue and see what happens from there. Connor, what are you giving Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 6?
I'll give it an 8. This is a great fun.
Connor, Matt?
8.5.
Yeah, I'll go with a straight 8. I think. Like, I enjoyed it a lot, but it is mostly just this one big fight. So, ultimately.
And that's why I liked it too, because I read this after reading Flash. So after having that dense reading Doom Patrol, and it didn't take nearly the time.
Yeah.
It was nice. It's nice to have comics break up like that.
Yeah. Okay. Batman Brave and the Bold, issue 5, particularly the Tom King and Mitch Gerads story, which is the continuation of this, Batman and Joker's first dance, if you will. So this one's quite interesting. So Batman's injured after the last issue, so he's kind of sidelined, and he's very frustrated about it. He's arguing with Alfred in the cave and whatnot. But you also have this continued, Joker stuff going on with the silent movie style text, where in this one he's just sort of saying this like nursery rhyme, and he just kind of he just keeps upping the number every time he kills someone, but he's just going around killing people, specifically 10 in total, because that's the whole point, is that
getting up to. I didn't know it went past 4. Like, I'd never heard the nursery rhyme past Knick Knack Paddywhack, up to I played Knick Knack, whatever it is, the 4th version. I haven't ever heard about that. So either it does go that far, or King's very good at nursery rhymes. Yeah,
I may have just extended it. I mean, I've never even heard of this nursery rhyme, so I'll just I'll take your word for it. No.
Yeah.
Oh.
At least if it came up when I was young, I don't remember it.
Oh, fair enough.
What's the melody, Connor? Because it shares a melody with another.
Does it? Oh.
I thought so.
I mean,
maybe.
they usually do, but
Yeah. But maybe not. Maybe it's just that ubiquitous.
I can picture the melody. I just don't know what it shares it with.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Maybe I'm just imagining that, but the Joker climbing into the porta potty and murdering the dude, and we don't see it like. So I've seen I've read the last one. I've seen the first Terrifier, and Joker's definitely giving me Art the Clown vibes.
He is
in this one.
I think
right?
this one was interesting to me because this kill and then the next one where he like there's like a mom and her kids in the back seat. And the kid's saying the nursery rhyme, and she's like, "Oh, honey, where did you learn that?" And he's like, "He taught me." And I thought he meant he taught me earlier today when he ran into the Joker. But then she turns around and the Joker's sitting in the back seat, and I was like, "Wait, this is kind of far fetched. Like, how could he possibly tell him something without the mum hearing it?" And it started to make me think that it was intentionally. Same with this porta potty one where he literally climbs in the toilet and waits in the water.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, that full page spread of his face in the water holding the knife is wonderful.
Well, there's that, and then when he goes down the toilet, he spins unnecessarily.
He does. Yeah.
Like Gerads is having fun with the art there, right? I think
what I took this as is not that he's literally doing it these exact ways. It's more the idea that as he kills more people and he's getting a reputation, this is the myth of the Joker. This is in the same way that Batman has. He's like, oh, you know, can the Batman fly? Is he invincible? Like, the idea of criminals saying that. This is like we're seeing these murders as if the stories have spread and they've gotten more wild and exaggerated.
The Joker is everywhere.
Yeah. So, really good stuff. Yeah, so he kills this guy in a porta potty. Gordon's got the bat signal on, but Batman's not showing up because he's injured. And Bruce tries to get dressed as Batman. He ends up punching the clock, and Alfred's like saying, "No, you can't go out." It's like you just can't.
If you can beat me in a fight, you can go out. And he's like, "Alfred, stand down." He's like, "I'm not going to. If you can't beat your manservant," which again phrasing, then you have no business going out there, right? So I do like that. I like the care of Alfred.
Some time passes after the next murder, and Batman does go to see Gordon, and Gordon's pissed. Time has clearly passed because he's like, "Hey, I've not heard anything from you. You know, where have you been?" But even as Batman's trying to talk to Gordon about the current case, he starts coughing and he collapses. And Gordon actually picks up like the radio device on his belt and like calls. You know, he doesn't know who he's calling. We know he's calling Alfred, but he's like, "Hey, your man's down." And Alfred tells him to put him in the Batmobile, and he's like, "But there's no one in it." And then the Batmobile just drives off, or gets ready to drive off on its own, because fancy. But so the whole thing is Batman's thinking that Joker's intentionally changing up his like pattern because he sees the humor in that, and that he's done announced murders, he's done surprise murders, he's done robberies. So he's probably going to do an announced murder eventually again, but he's doing surprise murders just now, and eventually
he's talking about, like, it's a pattern and a joke, right? So once you know the pattern, the joke's no longer funny. So he keeps changing up his pattern because that's what keeps the jokes coming. And I've never thought about Joker like that, and that's it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and eventually when he does announce who he's going to kill, there's kind of a clue in the message that because it mentions that after 10 he'll die, but the 10 also means there'll be a 10th like surprise victim, which ends up being the police chief who told Gordon that he's not to contact Batman, that they're going to handle this themselves. And then almost like Barbara going to the door and Joker like waiting for her. Similar thing here where Joker's there and he's got Gordon's pipe because Gordon was looking for his pipe and he couldn't find it. The Joker's got it. But Gordon does find that communicator. He still had it from when he helped Batman get in the Batmobile. So he clearly calls that into Batman. Meanwhile, Batman is like training with Alfred and is like, "Alfred hit me." And he's like, I can't do that. So he's like, "Alfred, like, I know about your history when you were in the military and stuff. Like, hit me." So Alfred punches him.
He brings up for Queen and Country. I know what you did. Yeah. Also, I read it in Bale's "Hit Me" yell from Dark Knight. Right. So
that's pretty good. Yeah. And then the most sadistic part of this issue is the person the Joker's announced that he's going to kill, who's Drake.
The judge.
Yeah, the Judge Drake. Basically, after he kills the police chief, Joker wears his face like Hannibal Lecter and goes straight to the judge's house and plays cards with them as the judge starts to die from the booze that's been poisoned or whatever. And then he just walks out the scene. But no, I think he also just stab him because there's some blood on the next page.
Yeah.
But as he walks out in the rain, and it does, the art's great here, where it's the judge, and maybe it's a little far fetched to believe that people wouldn't notice that this is someone else, but the art just does these shadows around the eyes, and he's constantly grinning. And he just drives off, and you can hear the police on the radio saying, like, how did he get away? Like, we've got the place surrounded. But it's because he's the police chief, and he just walks out. And then when he's in the car, he just peels off the face. And pretty much the only time, I think, in the whole book we get the silent movie-style dialogue, and it's not that rhyme, is this moment where it's just ha, 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 ha. Like, this is it. He's finished the joke. So he's cackling to himself as he drives off into the night. And that's the end of the issue. That art there in that last page, especially with the eyes in the rearview mirror, are just it's phenomenal. It's gorgeous.
Okay. So that's what I got confused as, right? I didn't think about him wearing his face like Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, really?
So,
you didn't get that?
I thought he was just impersonating him, right? So when he's peeling the face off, I thought he was, putting the makeup or pulling the makeup off, right? Like it was skin tone makeup. But it makes so much more sense that he's wearing his face.
I mean, maybe there's a bit of column A, bit of column. I'm sure some makeup to make it convincing, because otherwise it would just look like a bloody face. That's.
I mean, at one point he wore his own face as a mask.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, but I didn't think about that because that was my one issue with this. I was like, the ending's a little far fetched where he's impersonated the police chief. Like the judge wouldn't realize that, and then I was like, oh, I didn't think about him wearing his face.
I mean, I still think
that makes sense.
I think it's a little far fetched that no one would notice. But then if you go back and look at the pages, like the judge is already like starting to feel woozy because he's been poisoned with the booze. So maybe he's just not seeing clear.
Oh.
And then the cop that sort of talks to him as he's walking out, Joker's got his back to him. So I think he's intentionally not looking anyone right in the eye so that they'll get a good look at him, kind of thing.
Yeah. Is everything okay? Even because when you look at him, it is drawn different. Gerads draws the faces different. When you go back to the page with Gordon talking to the police chief.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you look at what the Tom King art here at the top of that page, of the Joker stabbing the police chief.
Oh, is that literally Tom King?
He has the pipe.
Wait, is that literally Tom King art?
I would guess, unless it's Gerads doing Tom King.
Yeah.
Right?
It could be, because it is just like a sort of crappy line drawing. It's intentional, so...
Yeah. So I took this as this was the Tom King drawing, and it's like when they in Mr. Miracle when they made it the kid drawing, right? It was Tom King's art. But yeah, it's him stabbing the police chief and stuff. So it's like one of those. Well, he has the pipe. So yeah. But no, it was so menacing and creepy, and it just feels so hopeless that at the end there when he's driving the police car away. From everything, but it looks like the Batmobile's right behind it, right?
Yeah, the Batmobile's behind it. He's in pursuit. It's just really good stuff. I like this. The moment where the police chief opens the door and Joker's there, the way he just kind of trails off because he's like on a phone call or whatever. Yeah, and he just says no. It's this idea that no one's safe from Joker in Gotham right now. Yeah. And I love that page as well because it's the left-hand side of the page is Gordon looking through his desk and finding the communicator. At the same time, the chief finds the Joker. And it's kind of like, that's why the Batmobile's there at the end, because Gordon's called him in and said, hey, this is what's going on. So it doesn't take too much to think to get to that point. So, yeah. And the last time you see Batman, actually, when he's talking to Gordon, when he's on the radio, is, Batman ends that scene with pulling his cowl up. He takes his cowl down at the start of the page, rips off all the bandages that he's got on his head, and then puts his cowl back up. Like he's ready to go. Like whether he's actually ready or not, he's mentally ready to go.
Right.
So this was excellent. I am happy to have this back. This has been as far as like really kind of like presenting Joker as a almost Michael Myers level of like ethereal, like he could be anywhere doing something nefarious. This has been
he's a
great
presence.
Story. Yeah.
He's not a person. He's he's the shape. So yeah. Yeah.
So the comparison to art's not that bad because the art is kind of like the shape but with a sense of humor. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are you giving Brave and the Bold main story?
I'm going to give this, now that I had clarity towards the end, I'll bump it up a half point. So I'll give this a 9.
Yeah, I'm happy to give it the 9 as well. It's very, very good, and it's gorgeous, and it's doing great stuff. So, yeah, I've had a good week other than Green Arrow.
You didn't read any of these, so you saw that there was a George Fornes story, and you chose not to read it?
I actually didn't. I didn't even look to see what else there was.
Yeah. Well, just as a quick bonus, I'll cover this. It's called The Angel of Gotham. It's the last story in Brave and the Bold. Okay. And it's black and white George Fornes art, written by Ed Brisson. And it's about this guy that was known as the Angel of Gotham because he organized this group to get together to hold signs as vigils for these unsolved crimes in Gotham. And this guy got murdered. And so Batman and Gordon are trying to figure out who would kill this Angel of Gotham. Was it somebody, that is associated with the sign he was holding? So the vigil he was holding was for a lady named Mandy Mercer, and she was strangled to death here. Her killer remains at large. So they talk about him starting the Angels of Gotham, and Bruce ends up going to Rudy's house and finding all of this stuff about Mandy Mercer. So he ends up finding these pictures of her in this like sealed piece of art, and it looks like she was abused. Bruce figures out that she was a waitress at the Iceberg Lounge, so he goes to talk to Oswald, and Oswald's like, yeah, no, we dealt with this. And he goes, what do you mean? He's like, well, use your imagination, but if you work for me, you're supposed to be safe. So, and Fornes does this really cool thing with Penguin, is that he looks like the Colin Farrell version here, right? So he's got this schlubby, kind of balding look to him. But basically Oswald reveals that one of the bouncers roughed her up and took it a little bit too far, and that's why she was strangled where she was. And the reason that it's been unsolved and the Gotham police and Batman can't find him is because Oswald just had the bouncer taken out, killed, and thrown into the harbor, right? So Bruce is feeling a bit upset because it's almost sinking in that he can't, there's just going to be unsolved crimes in Gotham, right? Him and the police can't be everywhere at once. Until he comes across this guy who might be homeless, named Kaz. And Kaz starts talking about how, you're supposed to be a boogeyman, but, I'm not really afraid of you. And if you talk to the right people, right, you'll find out that people see things, and so Bruce starts looking around because Kaz points to this dumpster, and he tells Kaz thank you. In that dumpster, he ends up finding DNA from this man named Lionel Vernon, who has a long rap sheet of minor theft, a bunch of small potato stuff. So Bruce goes there and says I know you killed Rudy, who's the guy that started the Angels, and he confesses that he was on drugs. He looked and saw this guy standing there holding a sign, and saw him as a demon, and because he was so high and out of his mind, he killed him and freaked out and just left. And so he apologizes, and that's never what he wanted. And it ends with Bruce and other members of Gotham in the cemetery, at this guy Rudy's funeral. And, Bruce having this monologue about, there's still so many deaths unsolved, and because of that, we'll always need angels to remind us. So it was this nice, moody, almost true crime take on Batman, right? Because it's none of the supervillains are involved. I mean, he goes to talk to Penguin, right? And Penguin says yeah, I had that taken care of, and stuff. But just the black and white Fornes art, it's just when you think you've seen everything, you see that, and it just adds to a whole, a whole different level. And I almost feel like if it was supposed to be like a Batman black and white special, but because maybe that's not being made right now, they threw it in here. But it's a very, very good story. But yeah, as I was going through,
giving it a quick skim, it does look it looks very Batman Year One art style, but just without color because it's all black and white.
Yeah. So I don't want to call Fornes bare bones because there's layers to stuff, but yeah, it is. It almost is like the Year One, heavy, chunky style.
Yeah, it's the Batman cowl as well that made me think of that.
Yeah. So, I saw Fornes' name sitting there, and I didn't even realize it was Brisson until I got to the page. And it's a very nice story. Pairs well. It's a little bit more hopeful than the Joker story, so it's a nice counter to all of that.
I mean, as far as hopeful goes, I feel like the bar set by the Joker story is quite low. Like, yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it's worth a read if you guys want to go back. I mean, being that you've already got the issue sitting there.
Yeah,
so.
but it looks pretty from a quick glance at the art, which is not surprising because it's Fornes. But all right, cool. All right, Power Girl issue 1. Leah Williams writing with Eduardo Pansica on the art. You guys read this, so take it away.
Yes. So, Connor, you seemed a bit negative when we brought it up earlier.
Connor, negative? What? That's not the Connor I know.
First, 7 or 8 pages, maybe. And I'm coming to the conclusion it might have been mostly the art I was enjoying in those backups before.
Okay.
Because I was just not into this at all. I don't think it's terrible. I was just really not into it. And I was like, because the art's fine. It's Pansica, it's fine. Pansica's not a bad artist.
No.
But the, was it Sauvage we had before? It's so stylized. It was like fairy tale-esque sort of look. That this is just, all right, it's house style. And it looks good for house style. It's not not bad art, but it's not setting itself apart from any other books like it was before with the backups. I think that kind of lost a lot of what this was for me.
Yeah, so what I will... My main issue is it seems like they're getting away from the superhero canceling side of things, which I really liked as a identity 4-page for Power Girl, because it did make her stand out from the rest of the super family, right? Is her thing would be hey, let me help you fix you so you could help others. And I know that they got rid of the whole telepathy thing, but she still could have gone that way. And it's funny because I was talking about on Twitter how excited I was for this because I've been enjoying Leah Williams' Power Girl stuff. Even the Night Terrors, which, again, Night Terrors is what it was. There were some bright spots in the Power Girl story. But I was talking to a friend and they were asking if she was still Karen Starr, if she was still in the business world. I was like, oh no, she's doing superhero, counseling, and she can astral punch and stuff. And it's a completely different, it's kind of giving her own identity in the super family. And then I open this and she's now, what's her, do you have it open, Connor?
Omen.
Huh?
She's with Omen.
She's with Omen, but her new name, it's Dr. Page something.
Oh,
and she's a tech business person. And I was just like, oh, this is not what I was expecting.
Diamond Dallas?
No, not Diamond Dallas.
Paige Stetler.
Yeah, Paige Stetler. And so this opens up with her and Omen essentially being undercover, while also using this event that they're holding to give Dr. Stetler, and Paige herself, kind of this vibe that she's always been around, right? They're trying to solidify her identity. And in doing so is that she's starting this, she's still working in the tech world, but she's holding this fundraiser to auction off things from space that she's had smuggled in to Earth, which already is not a, again, not where we left off. I feel like I'm missing chapters here because when the last one ended, after she faces down Johnny Sorrow, right? She astral punches into space and is like, well, this is a story for another time, right? And here she's all dressed up. She's dressed to the nines. Omen's working as a bartender, even though she has no idea what goes in drinks. But because she's telepathic, she's just gonna, read people's minds. Which, as someone that's been to a couple bars, not everybody knows what they're drinking, right? Like, not everybody knows the ingredients to the cocktail that they want.
Most people don't.
Right. They just know what the cocktail is, so they'll order it, right? So there was definitely a flaw in Omen's plan. But Omen's still talking to Paige through all of this, and we, they bring up the smuggler that Paige has befriended that has smuggled all these artifacts in. Atlanteans are bringing stuff in to be auctioned. And then all hell breaks loose. This alien guy attacks and starts, calling out Power Girl because she shows up now. She, does the quick change, ends up in the Power Girl costume. Calling her a Kryptonian and Kryptonian scum, and that, Kryptonians are just colonizers that, never had an original thought. They just take what others do. They think they're better than everybody. And, it's a big fight scene with Power Girl and this guy and his people but he reveals that, oh yeah, he's just going to blow up this big chunk of Metropolis. So what Paige does is she goes and finds the bomb and astral punches it into the Marianas Trench. Right? She thinks that the day's saved. Streaky needs to get fed. Which there's a cutaway that made me think of Pete for sure. Right? Because Omen and her are talking about how she forgot to feed Streaky, and Streaky's not going to forget it. And he looks very annoyed. And Superman shows up and is like, hey, Paige, like, I know you're trying to get reestablished, right? But what you did by putting that bomb into the Marianas Trench, the Atlanteans that were there took that as as an act of war.
They took that personally.
So, yeah, and like after what had happened with the what was that stone, the Genesis fragment, we're still not on good terms with them exactly. So like, you gotta think before you do things. And she's like, yeah, I am sorry. It's just, this is real tough. And this is where the characterization started to come down, where I feel that Williams has worked so hard to establish this unique identity for her. To her to just kind of back down from Clark, I thought was a little bit weird, right? Because, she'd be like, well, I did try my best, and I get that, but can you, like, let me talk to the Atlanteans, or, along those lines. And then he tells her that there's this weird Kryptonian virus that has invaded this small Caribbean island. And this is what some of the stuff in the Night Terrors issues were. That there was this weird virus going through this island and infecting everybody. And he needs her to check it out. And she tells him, well, isn't there any other members of the super family? And he points out, he's like, well, no, this is not from my Krypton, it's from your Krypton. Reminding her that she's, her Krypton that doesn't exist anymore, right? And from her reality that is, I know wishy-washy, it's infecting through there. So it's not what I was, digging from before and the Power Girl, but I'm going to trust Leah Williams because so far I'm still, even the Night Terror stuff was pretty decent. I like the dynamic between her and Omen because that's still there. And again, just, throwing her back in tech and all that stuff, I just feel it's a regression. I don't know if that was editorial or what. But yeah, like Connor was saying, the Pansica art's fine. The action sequences, it all feels like very much comic book art, made for an easy breezy read. But yeah, I'm going to keep going with it. It's not great, but it is readable. So I'll give this a 7.5.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. And then finally we have Spirit World issue 5, Alyssa, Wong, and Haining. Both you guys read this, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how many were you behind?
Just had to read this in the last one.
This is the last one, okay. So I'll go to you because I did read this morning, but I read it real quick. And a lot of the mystical stuff I got tripped up on because there were so many, not just new characters introduced, but kind of concepts.
Yeah, the Jade Court is kind of a new concept for the book.
Right. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, most of that's kind of just in the background. Like most of what the issue is dealing with is kind of picking up where it was last time, where Cass and Constantine have kind of got some sort of like possession. They're not entirely sure what's going on. That's kind of the point, where it has led them to turn against Xanthi, and not intentionally. Like they're still mentally they're aware that, hey, we don't want to be attacking you. Why are we doing this? But
they're conscious of their movements, but they can't control their bodies.
So they are like being like puppeteered into like casting spells and like doing martial arts against them, and it's not going great. And a good bulk of the issue is them trying to figure out about how to contain this without hurting them, because they're friends, and they're clearly this is against their will. This is not what they want to be doing, and it kind of reverse engineers the previous binding spell, but in a more non-horrific way this time.
Yeah, a nicer way. That's she's talking about
consensual.
Xanthi's talking about how magic's all about intention, right? You got to set your intention, and people don't have time anymore for that, so they kind of just do things mindlessly, and that's kind of the key for Xanthi to like, well, they're still mindful, so I can kind of bind whatever spirit is in them, to calm it down. And it's this really nice kind of spiral page as Xanthi's using the spell stuff.
There's a lot of spiral imagery in this because they're going down the spiral staircase.
Right.
And this spell is, again, it casts an unrelated spiral to that staircase.
Right.
But the way each section of that spiral is like the staircase still, like the stairs. Each one's a different panel with like a different image in it as it goes through the spell. It looks really great with it. It's a strong layout. And it does work. At least it's a temporary fix. It keeps them as a hold of themselves, so they are all back on the same side, and no one's attacking anyone anymore.
Yeah, and I do like that Cass mentions, that, and so does Constantine, that Xanthi referred to them as the best martial artists and a really good sorcerer, right? So, Constantine's like, well, yeah, you do care about us. It was a nice little friendship moment.
Yeah, and they get to the bottom, and there's a doorway down there to, a doorway to the Jade Court.
Right.
They're all over. He's like, oh, this shouldn't really be here, but I guess it is. So what you gonna do? And there's a hint that the old imp lady who's been like helping them out, Popo, may or may not be one of these gods from this pantheon in the Jade Court. And it's like, oh, okay, there's a whole lot bigger of what's been going on behind the scenes that no one has seemingly known about so far.
And so the Jade Court are these group of spirits in the spirit world that have ascended into godhood. And they all kind of, in a very, Power Rangers kind of way. Each of them has a different color to their name and kind of like a specialty too.
Yeah. There's a page at the start which lists them all, but you don't really need to know most of them. It's just they're here so that you can recognize them later.
Just the Jade one, because it's you got to remember that Popo is using green energy.
Yeah, so it's the Verdant Sorceress.
The Verdant Sorceress, right? And so it's heavily intimated that Popo, the grandma, was the Verdant Sorceress, but was kicked out of the Jade Council?
Yeah, possibly, because when we see them at the start, they're all young, right?
Right.
Especially the Verdant Sorceress is seemingly younger than most of them, whereas the rest of them, you'd say,
right,
like, the 20s, maybe 30s at most, whereas she looks like a teenager comparatively.
Right. And so, and then in the kind of crosscuts we get, too, is that there's some demonic spirit attacking the Jade Council and all of their people, right, in this realm, coming through that door, right, that we see our heroes travel through. Yeah. Right. So this is the part that lost me. Is that demonic spirit, is that meant to be the Verdant Sorceress in a new form?
I don't think so, because there's no.
Yeah.
They don't have any of the iconography, like the staff, right? There's none of our symbols there. So I don't think so.
All right. So who is this person supposed to be then? Is it just an evil spirit?
Yeah, I'm not sure we're meant to know who it is.
Okay. Because at the end there, they go to fight. They're fighting the gilded warrior dude who just wants to fight people because it's been a while, which I get. But the main person on the council says you're full of surprises, Popo, right? And it says, and they are the ones that are going to help open that door, right? So like, that's where I got lost in this. Is like it's making it feel like the verdant sorceress is seemingly up to something to bring down the council, right? So is it something to do with this demonic spirit, or what? And, that's the only thing. It's kind of unclear.
Yeah, I think it's part of the plan. The demonic spirit. They give a name, but they say Wan Yujing.
Right.
But I don't recognize that name from anywhere earlier in the book. So I think it's just more something giving us a name to call them going forward.
Gotcha.
They do say that she brought them all here, and that they're the ones that are going to help open the door. Right as we've seen, our main trio, doing some magic to try and open the door.
Right.
So there is definitely a strong implication that
one has to do with the other.
Yeah, at least behind it. Whether or not she is Popo, I'm not entirely sure. It could be. They could definitely go that route.
Well, I just remember, in earlier issues, the grandma telling Xanthi, the J Council, you can't deal with them. They're all bad, right? Yeah. So it feels like there's some.
There is. We also know there's been a lot of stuff going wrong in the afterlife here, and there's. Yeah. So I wonder if it's less direct than maybe you've been jumping to here, and it's more just they've been puppeteering it towards this in a long game sort of way, as opposed to directly pointing them to the door.
Yeah, because they point out that everyone's meant for reincarnation, but because of the Jade Council's ascension to the top, they're kind of in control of who gets reincarnated and who doesn't. Yeah. So when they get to the bottom of that spiral staircase, there's these spirits that have been there for way too long, and they're barely being able to keep form. Kind of reminded me of Coco, right? The Pixar movie. That once people on the other side forget who you are, you cease to be. And along those same lines. But yeah, so the overall story is pretty decent. I like a lot of that stuff, but that's where, it's starting to feel like this maybe needed one or two more issues to kind of flesh out the Jade Council. Yeah,
I'm definitely confused as to how this is going to wrap up in one issue.
Yeah.
Or if it is, or if this is going to be one of those things where they're hopefully going to get more down the line. I mean, either way, I hope there's more. I've really enjoyed this book overall so far. I think this is probably one of the messiest issues in terms of a plot perspective. It feels like they say, maybe this needed 7 or 8 issues as opposed to 6. And all of a sudden there's that realization of, we need to kind of cram a lot in here now.
Yeah.
We don't all get that Unstoppable Doom Patrol 7th issue to...
True.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know if part of that's sales. I haven't got any, we've got no data to back up, or if part of it's just they're trading on the Doom Patrol name a little bit, right, as opposed to a completely new property with Spirit World.
It was higher in the Comixology chart, at least. Doom Patrol was up higher.
It is, but I would expect that to always be higher, right, than a brand new book
I agree.
Of something like this. I'm still really enjoying all the stuff that's happening in this as I'm reading it. Like I said, I think this is definitely a bit too condensed into the back half of the series overall. It's kind of like it's a little bit messier because it's not amazingly paced over the 6 issues. But I am also still really quite enjoying it mostly, and art's been great. Characterization of all the characters is really fun, and I'm enjoying. There's pretty less of it in this issue than the others, but having these 3 bounce off each other has been probably a lot stronger than I would have expected going in. Like if you picked, Constantine a Cassandra Cain and then go, and we're going to throw in another character on top of that, and it'll work. Don't just trust us. I probably would have been skeptical, but no, it's been really solid.
Yeah, it's just a little bit messy on the back half, like you were saying. But yeah, it's so far all three of these books that have come out, like The Vigil, this one, and City Boy, have all been unique in their own ways.
I've kind of loved all three of them.
Yeah, so I do love the Asian mythology at play here because it's something I'm pretty unfamiliar with. So coming into these, it's kind of like when I was reading Monkey King, right, or Monkey Prince, and coming across all of those type of stories. It's like it's opening a whole new side for me. I just wish it was a little bit more concise. So yeah, what you rating it?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I want to give it more. I think I like it more than I do on paper, but in reality, it is probably like a 6.5 this issue.
I will agree with the 6.5.
Okay, so Flash was better, is what Matt said.
Matt did say that. I did not say that.
I'm gonna nod in approval.
Yes. All right. Well, that'll take us out of the part of the show. If you're wondering, normally I'll do a Patreon book on week 4, but we had so many books this week, and next week I have 3 books, so I'll just do both my Patreon books next week because easier. So that is that'll take us on to the last part of the show, which is picking our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and top 5 books. So start off with panel/moment. Matt, what do you have?
What do I do? It's not even Batman Brave and the Bold, but let me shout out in action. Superman talking to the guy on the beam, because that was a nice moment. But yeah, it's gonna be Joker flushing himself down the porta potty, because that just, it was so out there, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. It had, again, Art the Clown kind of Pennywise vibes. Very, very, very scary.
Very good. Connor?
I'm gonna go with the wolf spirit in Detective. I'm just deciding if I want the one where it's going after Dick or if it's going after Thomas Wayne. Either or. It's a toss up between them, but those two are the standout moments.
Yeah.
From an art perspective.
Yeah, I'm a little tempted to go with some of the stuff with Superman talking to the Blue Arthur chick and the lie detector stuff, but I think I'm probably going to go with Joker wearing the police chief's face because just super horrific stuff. Really, really good. All right, cover of the week. I have there's a couple of interesting ones. The Fiumura detective cover is kind of interesting. It's like a Batman holding the Bruce Wayne. There is perils, admittedly, though, so maybe it's disqualified just because there's some perils on Bruce's lap. I would also say that the Dan Mora variant for Flash is very good. It's very colorful. I really like that. Penguin's got a couple of good variant covers. My favorite of them probably being the Otto Schmidt one. Penguin just looks very imposing. It's very simple. But my pick, as has been most weeks with this book recently, has been Action, because I just love the art style on the covers for those. It's got a really nice poster kind of vibe. So I'm going to narrowly give it to that. But what you got, Connor?
Yeah, I'm just looking at. I agree. Pretty much all the ones you shouted out were pretty great. I also like all the Spirit World covers. But on top of that, it comes down to 2. One of which is the normal detective cover. I just the style of those has been great. But because I'll get to pick another one of those soon because they're everywhere. They're pretty consistently that style. I'm gonna go with the Stoko Green Arrow cover. Stoko's so good, and the way he makes a mess of objects look distinct, amongst this huge density crowd of things flying at Ollie on this. He does it on all his stuff, but the way he does that is so impressive to me.
Yeah. Okay. Matt.
No one has brought up the Gary Frank Power Girl cover, which I think is.
That's good. I even look at Power Girls covers. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cheesecake, right? That's the character that lends itself. There's a cool Otto Schmidt though that has Power Girl in all her different costumes, and it's not done in a kind of skeevy way. It's just it looks just like a layout. But mine's gonna be from Flash, and it's gonna be the Dan Mora variant. Cause come on, what's not to like here? So
all right,
I'm trying to pull it up now real quick so I can explain. But it's got Wally running, and there's a black background, but there's a ton of color coming through as he's in the running pose. Yeah, it looks real nice.
All right, art of the week, Connor.
Oh, that is tough, isn't it? Do I get? I'll give it to Detective. I think it's. I really like the art in that book.
All right. I think I'll probably go with. Shout out to Rafael de Latorre for Penguin. It's very good. Obviously, Nguyen was good in Detective. I actually really like Deodato Jr. on Flash. I like that art a lot. However, I did read a book drawn by Mitch Gerads this week, and it was full of insanely good-looking imagery.
That is fair.
So that's my pick. It's the boring choice in a lot of ways, but it's the correct choice. Matt?
Yeah, I wanted to come up with something different, but between Gerads and Fornes, right? Brave and the Bold, just swinging hard. So yeah, Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, there you go then. All right, top 5 of the week. Matt, you're up first.
All right, so number 1's going to be Brave and the Bold, 2 is Detective Comics, 3 is Action Comics, 4 is Penguin, and 5 is, let's see, what did I put else there? I guess I did Power Girl 5.
Okay, Connor?
So Tech, Action, Doom Patrol, Spirit World. Oh God, which one did I dislike more? It's a toss-up between Green Arrow and Flash by default. Whereas,
oh come on, Flash was better than Green Arrow.
One's objectively worse written, but has really nice art and if I had to read another one of them right now, I'm rereading Green Arrow. Whereas Flash was a chore. I'm gonna put Green Arrow above it.
Listening to you is a chore.
Even I didn't do that, guys. Even I didn't do that.
Green Arrow wasn't a chore for me to read. Flash was. Also, Green Arrow didn't character assassinate anyone.
I don't know about that. I think it was Oliver committed character suicide.
Well, that's not specifically in this issue.
Yeah, so my top 5, Brave and the Bold, Tom King stories number 1. And then I think, then Action, then Detective, then Penguin, then Flash. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. So, I had a good week though, other than Green Arrow. Still, 6 out of 7 ain't bad. So that's the range of stuff. If I can remember what I'm saying here. Yes, next week from DC Comics, we're having Batman 138. So the Gotham War will continue. We have Poison Ivy 15, Shazam issue 4, Birds of Prey issue 2, The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing issue 11, Blue Beetle issue 2, Peacemaker Tries Hard issue 6, Fire and Ice Welcome to Smallville issue 2, Batman The Adventure Continues Season 3, Issue 8, DC's Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun, that's their big horror anthology special, and then there's a Scooby-Doo book.
It's a good title.
That's a good title, I agree.
There's absolutely no creators on it that I'm familiar with, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Dexter Soy's in there, and Javier Rodriguez on the art. That's about it.
Yeah, this is one of these things where when I first saw this title, I went, "Oh, maybe I will read this special just because it's out in a week where there's almost nothing else." But then the list of names was like, "Oh, this is like such crapshoot."
No, it's fine though, because there's a Nightwing and Red Hood story co-written by the voice of Nightwing from the Gotham Knights video game.
Yeah, I think I'll skip it. I'll do my Patreon books plus the books that I have next week. And then Connor,
what are these JSA Gold Editions? Are they just
reprints of earlier stuff?
Reprints?
It's just
I questioned that the other day.
Yeah, it's just a reprint of issue 1 through 3, and then a reprint of that one-shot special that came out before it. So
basically, they realized that JSA hasn't had an issue in ages, and it's going to be a while till the next one. They're like, shit, keep them interested.
Real quick, I know you guys were talking because I was trying to figure out the JSA stuff, but this girls just want to have fun. Some of the descriptions seem fun, like Man Bat versus a werewolf, and Mary Marvel and Dr. Psycho crashing a Halloween frat party.
Well, you read it for $10 then.
I won't be here, so I don't have to.
Yeah, Matt's not here next week, so if you want to do it for the show, Connor, you're more than welcome.
I think I'm good.
That's what I thought. But yeah, that's what's out next week. So we'll see you for that. But yeah, you can of course support all the content over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. As I said earlier, it supports the podcast. You get it a little bit early, as soon as it's ready, sometime late on the Saturday, and you get help keep it coming, and you get bonuses for all the other MailFuzz shows that we do. So yeah, go check it all out. You can also support us for free by simply liking, sharing the podcast around, giving us a 5-star rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. All these things do help. So please do any and all of them. Thank you very much. But that is the show. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.